Chapter 2161. Facing Mo Fengzi's terrifying attack. Ling Xiao couldn't retreat. He had no way out. Furthermore, he believed in himself. Universe strike. His left fist punched out, and the universe strike collided with the black whirlpool. Then, something strange happened. The energy of the universe strike was instantly swallowed by the whirlpool. At that moment, the whirlpool became bigger and stronger. Ling Xiao frowned slightly, but the attack of his right fist didn't stop and also punched out. Howling celestial dog. The divine hound, burning with black and purple flames, broke through the air and directly swallowed the black whirlpool. Crack! However, in the next moment, the howling celestial dog's body split open. The whirlpool actually tore the howling celestial dog into pieces and swallowed it. Ha 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 ha, stupid brat. You probably don't know that a martial artist with my cultivation is not only strong in cultivation, but also in martial techniques. The pure attack power of the magical explosion whirlpool finger might not be strong enough, but once released, it will continuously absorb the surrounding energy as well as the energy of the enemy's attack. It's fine if you don't attack, but the more you attack, the more powerful it becomes. Brat, go and die now. Ling Xiao didn't say anything, as if he was scared silly. Mo Fengzi didn't care if he was really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. He waved his hand, and the magical explosion whirlpool, which had absorbed enough energy, flew towards Ling Xiao. Along the way, a terrifying scar was drawn on the ground, showing how powerful the magical explosion whirlpool finger was. Just when everyone thought that Ling Xiao was dead for sure and was prepared to risk everything to rescue him, something strange happened. Mo Fengzi suddenly hugged his head and howled in pain. Idiot! Do you think I don't know the principle of the magical explosion whirlpool finger? Ling Xiao retreated and sneered. Not only do I know its principle, I also know its weakness. But you don't know anything about the attribute of my internal energy. Just this, you dare to swallow it? Don't you know that there are some energies in this world that you can't swallow? What did you do? My head hurts, it hurts. Mo Fengzi simply felt a splitting headache and even started to hallucinate. In this hallucination, there would always be a huge hell devil dragon pouncing towards him, and the frightening flames burning his entire body, causing him to feel excruciating pain. I forgot to tell you, my internal energy is different from the internal energy of an ordinary warrior. My internal energy belongs to the profound internal energy. It contains my own will. Your magic explosion whirlpool finger swallowed it, giving my source spirit a chance to enter your soul realm. In terms of cultivation, I'm inferior to you, but in terms of soul power, you're inferior to me. As Ling Xiao spoke, he had already given Ling Yuhua the order to make his move. Now he had to face the devil explosion whirlpool finger and couldn't free himself to attack Mo Fengzi. But Ling Yuhua could. Ling Yuhua had been waiting impatiently for a long time. At this moment, he clenched his fists and punched Mo Fengzi's back with all his might. Rumble! A huge explosion resounded as Mo Fengzi's body was pierced through, and his internal organs were smashed to the ground. Although Ling Yuhua and Mo Fengzi were both in the yin-yang realm, there was still a large gap between them. But Mo Fengzi was currently in no mood to fight due to Ling Xiao's soul power. How could he not die after being sneak attacked from behind by Ling Yuhua? After Mo Fengzi was killed, the technique he released became weak and powerless, and was easily neutralized by Ling Xiao. Everyone looked at the corpse lying on the ground in disbelief. A dignified warrior of the Devil Shadow sect was killed just like that. Everyone felt that it was a little unreal. Big Sister Jiao Jiao, are you all right? Seeing that Mo Fengzi was killed, Ling Xiao felt exhausted, but he still charged towards Ling Jiao Jiao, wanting to remove the black web-like object from her body. Ling Yuhua had used all his strength to attack, and in addition to being tortured for an entire night, he was currently lying on the ground, gasping for air. It's over. Everything is over. Now, as long as they collect the hell fruit, their Ling family would be the biggest winner this time. Ling Yan, Old Hay, and the elder on duty were also excited. After being busy for so long and worrying for so long, there were many times when they thought that there was no hope, and there were many times when they thought that it was over. But the ending was really good. They looked at each other and revealed a joyful expression. Ling Xiao, be careful! Suddenly, Ling Jiaojiao's frightened voice blew away everyone's joy. In that instant, Ling Xiao subconsciously condensed all his internal energy on his back and activated the light shadow battle armor with the strongest defense. This was the ultimate move of the first style of the light shadow profound, and it was also Ling Xiao's strongest defensive move. The profound world physique was different from this. The profound world physique was Ling Xiao's body. Regardless of whether he activated it or not, it would always exist, so it couldn't be considered a move. Boom! Just as he finished doing all this, a terrifying force came from his back and sent him flying. Ling Xiao, boss! At this moment, Ling Jiaojiao, Ling Yuhua, Ling Yan, and the rest all exclaimed. His face instantly turned deathly pale, because no one would have thought that Mo Fengzi of the Devil's Shadow sect wasn't dead. There was actually such a terrifying force that could sneak attack Ling Xiao. In that instant, the opponent's attack speed was too fast. No matter who it was, they didn't have enough time to rescue Ling Xiao. They could only watch as Ling Xiao was sent flying by that terrifying force. Large mouthfuls of blood spurted out from Ling Xiao's mouth. Light shadow battle armor, profound world physique, elemental energy protection. The 3 layers of defense couldn't withstand this terrifying attack. Ling Xiao instantly felt that his entire body was about to fall apart. But fortunately he didn't die. He didn't fall apart either. In the end, his defense was still effective, and the effect was very good. Ling Xiao struggled to face Mo Fengzi and discovered that what appeared behind him was actually the image of an undying monster. An undying monster was considered a different species in any world, because this kind of existence was really hard to kill. It could even be said that it couldn't be killed. So that's how it is. Your martial soul is actually such a monster. I was careless. Ling Xiao was a little vexed. He only cared about saving Ling Jiaojiao and neglected the possibility that Mo Fengzi might have such a unique martial soul. That's right. My martial spirit is an immortal life martial spirit. Although it doesn't have much use, many big shots have been killed by me because of this martial soul. Because no one would have thought that I, who was already killed, could be resurrected. As Mo Fengzi spoke, he walked towards Ling Xiao, Ling Yuhua, Ling Yan, Old Black, and the elder on duty attacked him at the same time. In the end, they were all sent flying by a light wave of his hand. At this moment, Mo Fengzi seemed to be even stronger than before. The huge injuries on his body were recovering at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. Arrogant brat, you're really ignorant. You think that I'll be afraid just because you're a reincarnation realm cultivator? Chapter 2162. Mo Fengzi looked at Ling Xiao in disdain and said, "In my opinion, reincarnation realm cultivators are the most stupid idiots, giving up such a huge advantage and choosing reincarnation, only to be killed by someone like me in the end. Aren't you very vexed? I've killed about 3 or 4 reincarnation realm cultivators. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. Pitiful guy, if it were someone else, you would have already won. Unfortunately, you met me, and your fate is destined to be miserable. Die, you idiot. You should be proud to die by my hands." Mo Fengzi's speed suddenly increased. He no longer used the demonic explosion whirlpool finger, but clenched his hands into fists and smashed towards Ling Xiao in the simplest way. Although this action was simple, the power it contained was even more terrifying than the demonic explosion whirlpool finger. Ling Xiao, run. Don't worry about me. Ling Jiaojiao was naturally happy to see that Ling Xiao wasn't dead. However, she also knew what the outcome would be if Ling Xiao continued to stay here. She shouted loudly and actually broke free from the black web-like object, standing in front of Ling Xiao to shield him. Perhaps death wasn't that terrifying, especially dying for your beloved. That kind of feeling was actually quite blissful. Ling Jiaojiao, who was facing death, didn't panic in the slightest. Looking at Mo Fengzi's terrifying attack, she actually smiled peacefully. Mo Fengzi didn't go around Ling Jiaojiao. His terrifying fist was still unstoppable. The power of this fist was incomparably powerful. Even with Ling Jiaojiao blocking it, he had enough confidence to kill Ling Xiao as well. He wanted to kill that brat. He must kill that brat, and no one could stop him. No one. Demonic explosion, bloodthirsty fist. The moment his fists approached Ling Jiaojiao, they suddenly turned into huge, blood-red fists. This power was enough to kill any cultivator below the Yin-Yang realm. It could even directly turn them into dregs, without leaving behind a complete corpse. Good granddaughter. Patriarch. Frightened voices came from Ling Yuhua and the rest. They could only helplessly watch as Ling Jiaojiao was enveloped by the blood-red light. At that moment, Ling Jiaojiao smiled brightly. Although she knew that Ling Xiao only treated her as an elder sister, she didn't care. Anyway, she wasn't related to Ling Xiao by blood. She liked Ling Xiao and was willing to die for Ling Xiao. Why can't you just play dead? That way, you might be lucky enough to keep your life today. Suddenly, a cold and gentle voice rang in Ling Jiaojiao's ears. She knew that those words weren't meant for her, but for Mo Fengzi. Moreover, this voice was so friendly and reassuring. Her body was caught by a pair of strong arms, and then she was thrown out. Ling Yuhua, take good care of her. The voice came from Ling Xiao, but the current Ling Xiao was not Ling Xiao. Ling Yuhua saw a side of Ling Xiao that no one knew about. What would that look like? His silver pupils shone with a demonic light. His silver-white hair was filled with a tyrannical aura. His body was covered in pitch-black armor, but there were black wings on his back. His hand gently grabbed onto Mo Fengzi's hand, as though a young adult was grabbing onto a child's hand. What? Mo Fengzi looked at Ling Xiao in horror. This is impossible. How can you be so powerful? Yeah, there's nothing impossible in this world. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to their help. Ling Xiao pointed at Ling Jiaojiao, Ling Yan, the elder on duty, and Old Black. Ling Yan and the rest were confused. They didn't help much here, so how did they help? Have you forgotten the medicinal powder that I asked you to scatter in the 4 directions? Ling Xiao smiled and said, that's to attract the demonic beasts within a radius of 100 miles. When the demonic beasts step in, the myriad beast blood refining array that I have already arranged will be activated. The more demonic beasts enter, the more power I can use at this moment. Mo Fengzi, you're really powerful, but you're also very unlucky. If you continue to die, you might still be able to survive. But now, do you think you can fight against the power of thousands of demonic beasts? At this moment, Ling Xiao had entered the state of the heavenly Devil King. But just based on this point, it was impossible for him to suppress Mo Fengzi so easily. After all, the difference in cultivation was too great. But with the power of the demonic beasts brought by the myriad beast blood refining array, it was a different story. Suppressing Mo Fengzi was as easy as flipping his hand. What a cunning brat. Mo Fengzi, admit defeat. Since you can't kill me, why don't you let me go? I don't want anything. Mo Fengzi knew that he had lost his momentum. The current him was no match for Ling Xiao in this place. If he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, he would have to leave this place. Without the help of the myriad beast blood refining array, Ling Xiao wouldn't be a threat to him. Do you think I'm an idiot? Let you go and then let you find a chance to kill me? Ling Xiao smiled coldly as a terrifying demonic intent bloomed in his hand. Mo Fengzi's arms instantly shriveled up into skin and bones. No, you can't kill me. If you kill me, the Devil Shadow sect won't let you go. My master is an inner elder of the Devil's Shadow sect, one of the 10 great elders. He will definitely avenge me. Mo Fengzi roared in fear. You seem to have forgotten what I said before, right? I warned you that if you hurt Sister Jiao Jiao, I'll destroy your whole family. Do you really think I'm afraid of the Devil's Shadow sect? Don't worry, everyone from the Devil's Shadow sect will accompany you in the Yellow Springs. You won't be alone. After he finished speaking, Ling Zhao's demonic intent had already invaded Mo Fengzi's body. No, you can't kill me. You can't kill me. I have the life martial spirit. Even if I die, I can revive. As he spoke, as if to prove his words, his originally shriveled arms actually recovered. Your undying body originates from the life martial spirit. What if your life martial spirit is taken away? Ling Xiao revealed a sinister sneer, as if he was a terrifying demon. No. No. The mournful screams couldn't stop Ling Xiao's next move. He pulled out Mo Fengzi's life martial spirit and temporarily stored it in the mountain river world. Without the life martial spirit, you still won't die. Ling Xiao lightly scratched Mo Fengzi's face with his fingernail. Mo Fengzi let out a miserable scream, like a pig being slaughtered. I beg you, don't kill me, don't kill me. I can help you, I can help you. Mo Fengzi began to beg for mercy in fear. Looking at this scene, Ling Yuhua and the rest felt as if they were watching a fairy tale. Chapter 2163. In the eyes of the spectators, if someone told him that Ling Xiao could kill a Yin-Yang realm expert in the past, he would definitely think that person was a lunatic and wouldn't believe it. But today, Ling Xiao had already killed a Yin-Yang realm martial artist and held the life of another Yin-Yang realm martial artist in his hands. This was simply like a dream. Fortunately, this old man didn't offend Ling Xiao too much. Although I didn't give him much warmth, I didn't target him either. Otherwise, the Ling family would be in trouble. At this moment, Ling Yuhua was most thankful that he didn't completely offend Ling Xiao. Otherwise, he would really be finished. The life and death illusion powder was considered good, and it was much better than Mo Fengzi dying. Right at this moment, the hell fruit suddenly released an astonishing fragrance that attracted many adventurers in the forest. Most of these people were Yuhua Town's cultivators, and some came from the outside world. They knew that a natural treasure was about to be born, and all of them rushed over crazily, hoping to get a share of the loot. However, the first batch of martial artists to arrive saw a scene that made them extremely terrified. Shin Meng was killed. 24 bandits were killed. The Devil's Shadow sect's cultivators were burned to ashes by black flames. And that person was actually Ling Xiao from the Ling family. Scram! Ling Xiao didn't waste any time and directly roared. At the same time, he withdrew his Heaven Demon, King, transformation. This transformation was too easy to expose his identity. Fortunately, there weren't many people in the first batch. There were only 4 of them, and they were all from Yuhua Town. As long as he found them and fed them the life and death illusion powder, he would be able to control them. Ling Xiao was very benevolent, and under normal circumstances, he wasn't willing to kill, unless someone was courting death. However, those courting death soon arrived. A large number of cultivators crowded into this narrow area, trying to fight for the hell fruit that was beginning to ripen. Their eyes were filled with greed and desire, and they didn't intend to give up so easily. This hell fruit belongs to our Ling family. Whoever dares to snatch it will be killed without mercy. I'll give you 10 breaths of time. If you're still here, die. Perhaps it was because he had Ling Xiao as his backer. Ling Yuhua's words became especially confident. The aura of a Yin-Yang realm cultivator was indeed quite intimidating. After all, among the warriors who wanted to fight for the hell fruit, the strongest was only at the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. There wasn't even a half-step Yin-Yang realm warrior, not to mention Yin-Yang realm martial artists. Many people were scared and wanted to turn around and leave. Everyone, don't be afraid. He's alone. There are hundreds of us. So what if he's a Yin-Yang realm martial artist? It's useless. A voice suddenly came from the crowd, causing some of the cultivators who were about to turn and leave to stand still. "You're from the Mu family?" Ling Yuhua looked at this person coldly and asked. The Mu clan was one of the mid-tier clans in Ascension Town. It was much smaller than the Ling clan and the Qin clan, but it was still considered quite good. "That's right. I am the grand elder of the Mai family." That person relied on the fact that there were many people around, so he was not afraid of Ling Yuhua at all. Moreover, his cultivation had reached the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. He believed that even if he could not defeat Ling Yuhua, he could still escape. "The Mu clan is really bold. You were on good terms with the Chun clan in the past. However, the Chun clan has already been destroyed. If you leave obediently today, I might be lenient and not find trouble with your Mu clan." Ling Yuhua frowned and said, "Ha ha ha, Ling Yuhua, you idiot. Your Ling clan is finished. More than a dozen clans in Ascension Town have joined forces and attacked the Ling clan. Almost an hour has passed. I'm afraid the Ling clan has been reduced to ruins. Although I don't know why young hero Shenmeng spared you, it's impossible for your Ling clan to stay in Ascension Town." The grand elder of the Mai family laughed wildly. "Is this the young hero Shen you're talking about?" Ling Xiao, who had already returned to his original appearance, kicked Shenmeng's corpse, which was hidden by weeds, away. The corpse landed at the feet of the crowd. Shenmeng. Although Shenmeng was already dead, his face could still be seen clearly. "Impossible. How could you kill young hero Shen?" The grand elder of the Mai family suddenly panicked. His confidence stemmed from the fact that Shenmeng could kill Ling Yuhua. Even if he couldn't kill him, he could at least restrain Ling Yuhua. This way, the 12 clans would have a chance to rebel. However, when he saw Shenmeng's corpse, his heart turned cold. It wasn't the Ling clan that was finished. It was him. If Ling Yuhua was allowed to kill his way back, the 12 clans would most likely be wiped out. "Everyone listen up. Since our clans have already rebelled, if we don't kill Ling Yuhua here today, our clans will be finished. What do you think we should do?" The grand elder of the Mai family suddenly shouted. "Kill Ling Yuhua." Everyone shouted in unison. "Good. Although he's strong, he's just one person. If we do our best, we'll definitely be able to kill him." Under the encouragement of the grand elder of the Mai family, the warriors belonging to the 12 clans all clamored. Of course, there were also some warriors who didn't want to get involved in this battle. They quietly chose to leave. However, these people were in the minority. There were still hundreds of people gathered there. Among them, there were even outsiders who came to join in the fun. The outsiders didn't know how powerful the Ling clan was. Seeing that there were so many people here, they naturally stood on this side. They might not make a move, but as long as the health fruit matured, they would definitely go and harvest it. "Ling Yuhua, I'll leave them to you. Is there a problem?" Ling Xiao suddenly asked. "Don't worry. Leave it to me." Ling Yuhua was burning with anxiety. He didn't know that Ling Xiao had already set up layers of arrays around the Ling clan's courtyard. He only wanted to get rid of these people as soon as possible and return to save the others. "You guys go and help. Don't leave a single one of these people alive. Only by killing them will your battle strength increase." Ling Xiao ordered Ling Jiao and the others before going to harvest the health fruit alone. "Kill!" Deafening battle cries rang out. Both sides finally clashed. At this moment, the terror of a Yin-Yang realm warrior was displayed. Ling Yuhua was indeed terrifying. With a single stab of his sword, more than a dozen people were killed. This was the absolute suppression of a Yin-Yang realm warrior over Grotto Heaven realm warrior. It was as easy as stepping on a dozen ants. Together with the support of Ling Jiao, Ling Yan, and the others, this battle ended a little faster than expected. In the blink of an eye, only a few hundred warriors were left fighting for the hell fruit. Chapter 2164. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. You can use me as a hostage. That way, you can threaten them into not attacking the Ling family. In the end, the grand elder of the Mu family was captured by Ling Yuhua. As for the others, they were all killed without exception. Ling Jiaojiao and Ling Yan both achieved breakthroughs in the battle. One reached the 9th Grotto Heaven Realm, while the other reached the first cycle of the Grotto Heaven Realm. This way, the Ling family's strength increased greatly. At this moment, Ling Xiao had already carefully plucked the infernal fruit and stored it in a jade bottle. He was preparing to use it to refine pills. One infernal fruit could only allow one martial artist to break through to the yin-yang realm. However, one infernal fruit could refine 10 yin-yang infernal pills. The effects of each pill were not inferior to the infernal fruit itself. This was the reason why most people wouldn't consume the natural treasures directly after obtaining them. It would be too wasteful to do so. With 4 infernal fruits, Ling Xiao could refine 40 yin-yang infernal pills, which could help 40 people break through to the yin-yang realm. Of course, he would keep 10 for himself. He would leave 10 for the 8 Immortals County to win over people's hearts. As for the final 20, he would give all of them to Ling Jiaojiao and let her distribute them. Whoever was loyal to him and had the talent to break through to the yin-yang realm would get the pills first. However, this was a matter for the future. Right now, he had to deal with the Ling family being surrounded. When Ling Yuhua heard the grand elder of the Mu family, he was somewhat hesitant. He thought for a moment and agreed. If he had this fellow as a hostage, the Mu family would at least hesitate to attack. However, Ling Xiao suddenly walked over. A sword light shot out from his sword and killed the grand elder of the Mu family on the spot. We don't need any hostages. Those 12 families can't possibly break into the Ling family's courtyard. Ling Xiao said indifferently, "Let's go. You'll know the reason when we return." Although Ling Yuhua and the others were confused, they all nodded out of trust in Ling Xiao. They followed Ling Xiao back to Yuhua Town. Yuhua Town, outside the Ling family's residence. The ground was littered with corpses. However, these corpses did not belong to the Ling family, but were left behind by the 12 families that had besieged the Ling family. At a rough estimate, there were probably tens of thousands of corpses. Blood flowed everywhere, dyeing the streets red. No, this is different from what we agreed on. Who was it that set up such a terrifying array for the Ling clan, causing us to lose so many people? How hateful! One of the patriarchs roared in pain. "I think we should retreat. If we continue fighting, all of us will die here." A clan leader suggested timidly. Retreat? There was no turning back. Since we've already chosen to destroy the Ling family, we can't let all our previous efforts go to waste. The Mu clan's patriarch stepped forward and coldly said, "In any case, that old bastard Ling Yuhua is already dead. What do we have to fear? In this world, the most worthless thing is human life. No matter how strong the Ling family's array is, there will be a time when it will be broken. Also, I heard that blood can make the array lose its effectiveness." "That's right, I've heard of this before. Let's just let our coolies do it. After all, those people were captured or bought from various places. Their lives aren't worth anything." Someone else said, "That's a good idea. The lives of a bunch of slaves aren't worth anything. After we destroy the Ling family, we can just buy more people." Soon, the 12 clans came to an agreement. Some of them returned to their clans and gathered a large number of coolies and laborers. These people were usually treated like livestock. Now that they encountered such a dangerous situation, they were actually treated as cannon fodder. They didn't do anything wrong. If there was anything wrong, it was that they didn't have the strength and didn't meet a master who truly respected them. The 12 clans each had tens of thousands of coolies and laborers. A total of 120,000 coolies gathered in front of the Ling family's main gate. Ha ha ha, 120,000 people. We can flatten the Ling family's main gate. Patriarch Mu's idea is really good. Those who were already somewhat timid were now full of confidence. They believed that destroying the Ling family was just around the corner. Destroy the Ling family. The leather whips lashed out at the coolies. forcing them to move forward. But if it was just work, these people might be willing to do it without complaint. But now, they knew that they were courting death. How could they be willing? For a long time, they weren't willing to move. This made the angry supervisors draw their weapons and directly kill the coolies who were walking at the front but were unwilling to take a step forward. They wanted to kill the chickens to warn the monkeys. However, this kind of action made the laborers who had been oppressed angry expressions appear on their faces. They thought that they would be numb for the rest of their lives and that they wouldn't be able to resist anymore. But at this moment, when they thought of their own families and their own tragic fate, so what if they were obedient? In the end, they were still cannon fodder for others. They might as well rebel. Brothers, we worked hard for them without complaint. We didn't even have enough to eat, but we never thought of rebelling. But today they want us to die. Are you willing? Are your families willing? If we die, your mothers, your wives, and your children will all be bullied to death by them. Are you willing? If there's anyone who can't accept this, then rebel with me. We can't continue to be such a coward. Suddenly, one of the coolies in the crowd shouted. He was about 17 or 18 years old. He had a tall and coarse appearance, and one could tell at a glance that he had once cultivated martial arts. Such coolies were not rare in Yuhua town. Their working ability was stronger, so they wouldn't be crippled. But most of them didn't have high cultivation. They were only in the martial vein realm and couldn't overturn the heavens. It's that Wu Sheng fellow again. The Mu family had coldly glanced at the youth, revealing a trace of coldness. Kill him. Wu Sheng clenched his teeth. Seeing the martial artist charging at him, he didn't retreat, but instead charged forward. He knew that if he didn't move, those coolies wouldn't move either. Qi. A sharp sword stabbed into Wu Sheng's abdomen. He'd deliberately taken this attack head-on. Although his cultivation was low, he was smart enough to use it. The Mu family martial artist was facing him. He had just stabbed with his sword and was enjoying the pleasure of killing someone, so he didn't have time to react. Wu Sheng suddenly picked up a sharp blade from the ground and stabbed it into the other party's throat. The other party was a transcendent realm cultivator, while he was only in the martial vein realm. The difference between them was huge, but in this case, the other party still couldn't escape death. Kill. Chapter 2165. Kill. When it came to rebellion, the most frightening thing was for someone to take the lead. Once someone took the lead, more people would step forward. 2 people, 3 people. Soon, it spread to the hundreds of thousands of laborers. In any case, they would die as cannon fodder, and they would die as well if they resisted. They might as well die with a bang. Rebellion. They're really rebelling. The Mi family patriarch slammed his fist into a nearby tree before leaping into the air, leaping over the countless laborers and flying towards Wu Sheng. He believed that as long as he killed Wu Sheng, the others wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Whoever dares to rebel will be killed without question. Attack! In the air, the Mi family patriarch roared as he charged towards Wu Sheng. The Mi family patriarch wasn't the transcendent realm cultivator from before. His cultivation had reached the 9th paradise realm. Even if he was ambushed by Wu Sheng, he wouldn't be killed. He could rely on his Yuan Qi to resist. Therefore, if Wu Sheng was targeted by him, he would definitely die. However, Wu Sheng didn't seem to care. The moment he stepped forward, he knew that he might face the end of his life, and that was death. But he didn't care. Even if he died, thousands of Wu Shengs would step forward. If the Mi family patriarch thought that killing him could stop this rebellion, he was too naive. Even if he could endure if there was no way to survive, what was there to be afraid of? All of a sudden, Wu Sheng saw a figure in the sky that looked like a giant eagle breaking through the air. Who was that? What was he doing here? He was very surprised. This was a battlefield. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't deliberately enter this chaotic place. Could it be someone from the Ling family? But did the Ling family have such a young master? In the minds of Wu Sheng and most of the laborers, the Ling family only had one master, Ling Yuhua. As for such a young master, they had never heard of him. So what if he came? Could he change the situation? Suddenly, Wu Sheng saw something being kicked over by the young man. Ahead, he froze for a moment. Meanwhile, the Mi family patriarch felt the terrifying aura closing in on him from behind. He knew very well that he might be able to kill Wu Sheng, but he would definitely be hit by this terrifying aura. If that happened, he would also die. He absolutely couldn't be buried with a labor. He quickly turned around and threw a punch at the thing that was flying towards him. That thing was smashed into pieces. But at the moment of impact, the patriarch of the Mi family clearly saw what it was. A human head. Furthermore, it was the head of one of the Mi family's prime elders. Before he could fully understand what was going on, the terrifying figure in the distance had already closed in. It was a teenager who looked to be only 14 or 15 years old. The iron sword in the youth's hand was twined with resplendent starlight as it pierced towards him. Ling Xiao. Although the Mu family patriarch wasn't familiar with Ling Xiao, he still recognized him. When he saw that it was Ling Xiao, the Mi family patriarch revealed a sinister smile. There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There's no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Brat, Ling Yuhua was killed. Do I need you to play the hero? Die. He had already forgotten about Wu Xing behind him. Instead, he blasted towards Ling Xiao with all his might. When the starlight sword energy collided with the fist, the Mi family patriarch's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. He couldn't believe it. This nameless person, this Ling Xiao whom he'd never taken seriously, had actually managed to unleash such a powerful sword attack. It had easily destroyed his fist energy, and the terrifying sword energy had severed his right arm. Ah! The Mi family patriarch screamed miserably. This scream caused the massacre at the scene to stop instantly. Everyone looked over. Everyone turned to look at the young figure floating in the air. The remnants of the Chen family have been slain. The Mi family has rebelled. Their crimes are punishable by death. Ling Zhao's voice rang out in the clear sky, spreading far and wide. As he spoke, Ling Xiao stabbed out with a sword again. This time, the Mi family patriarch didn't have time to resist. The sword energy surged wildly as the iron sword pierced into the Mi family patriarch's throat. In that instant, the Mi family patriarch felt fear, regret, unwillingness, anger, and many other complex emotions. But none of those emotions mattered now. He could only repent for his attack on the Ling family with his death. I understand now. In the moment before his death, the Mi family patriarch finally understood who the culprit behind the Chen family's destruction was. Unfortunately, it was too late. His life had ended in that moment. His life was marked with an exclamation mark of regret. After killing the Mi family patriarch, Ling Xiao glanced indifferently at Wu Sheng. Not bad, kid. Wu Sheng felt like he was talking to a god. He looked at this youth, who wasn't very tall, and felt an urge to kneel. Take this. It's a healing pill. It's very useful. Ling Xiao casually tossed a healing pill to Wu Sheng. Then he turned around and looked at the remaining leaders of the 11 clans. The reason he'd saved Wu Sheng was purely because he had a good impression of Wu Sheng. In the future, Yuhua Town would provide him with large amounts of cultivation resources, so there would be no shortage of laborers. Wu Sheng had clearly become the leader of these laborers. If he could win over Wu Sheng, then he could make these laborers work for him. Of course, he wouldn't change the status of these laborers. After all, he wasn't their savior. However, he could improve the living conditions and survival conditions of these laborers. At the very least, they would be able to eat their fill, wear good clothes, and sleep well. They wouldn't have to work every day and cry. Everyone from the Ling family stood on top of the gate and courtyard walls, looking at Ling Xiao. They looked at this young man who'd saved them from the Qin family by himself. Perhaps they were still dissatisfied with this young man, but they had to admit it. This young man was truly the one and only savior of the Ling family. The patriarchs of the 11 clans looked at Ling Xiao with mixed feelings. What was a genius? This was a genius. With such a young body, He'd easily killed the my family patriarch. This was simply heaven-defying. Was there anyone in Yuhua town who could be his match? If they knew that Ling Xiao had killed 2 Yinyang realm martial artists in Yuhua mountain range, what would they think? Who can tell me who he is? I think he's called Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao? Why haven't I heard of such a terrifying kid in the Ling family? Weren't Ling Jian and Ling Mayu killed by the Qin family? This kid has probably been pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. That's right. I suspect that the extermination of the Chun family has something to do with him. Yes, I was puzzled. The Chun family has so many young disciples, especially that Chun Pai. He's even more terrifying than us. How could he have died in the wilderness? Ling Jiaojiao and Ling Yan were definitely not their match. I originally thought that it was Ling Yuhua, but now it seems that I was wrong. Now the answer is finally revealed. The 11 clan leaders gathered together and looked at Ling Xiao, who was standing proudly in the air in horror. Chapter 2166. Ling Xiao, you alone are not a match for the 11 of us. Ling Yuhua has already been killed by Xin Meng. You have no chance of turning the tables. Why don't you submit to us? The Ling family can be handed over to you, but you have to listen to us. Among the 11 family heads, one of them was second only to the Mi family head. His strength was on par with the Mi family head. Let's call him family head number 2 for now. Family head number 2 didn't seem to understand the situation and was still trying to persuade Ling Xiao to submit. He was really muddle-headed. Who did you say is dead? I am still alive and well. Ling Yuhua arrived late from where the voice came from. Ling Yuhua was extremely shocked. He was a Yin-Yang realm martial artist, but his speed couldn't keep up with Ling Xiao. He was left far behind by Ling Xiao and only arrived now. It was really embarrassing. How can you still be alive? Where is Xin Meng? Family head number 2 looked at Ling Yuhua in horror. If Ling Yuhua wasn't dead, it meant that Xin Meng's plan had failed. But why did it fail? Could it be that Ling Yuhua killed Xin Meng? Impossible. How could Ling Yuhua be so powerful? Xin Meng is already a dead dog. Are you still hoping that he can come and save you? Ling Yuhua looked at family head number 2 with disdain and said, Actually, when the Qin family fell, I was wondering if I should wipe out the 12 families that were on good terms with the Qin family. But I was still too merciful. Back then, I felt that you didn't do anything wrong, so I didn't mention it to the family head. If it wasn't for the powerful array set up by the expert, our Ling family would be in ruins now. You all shouldn't be punished for what you did. When the family head returns, I will ask for an order to wipe you all out. The old man was really angry. He was rarely merciful in his life. This time, because he was saved by Ling Xiao, he developed a little benevolence. But he didn't expect that he would almost harm the entire Ling family. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's arrangements, he would really regret it. Grandfather, I am giving you this order. Leave none of the 12 families alive. Ling Jiaojiao, Ling Yan the elder on duty, and Lao He were the last to arrive. Ling Jiaojiao's cold voice resounded in the air, announcing the death of the 12 clans. She was kind but not naive. These 12 clans had actually taken advantage of their absence to besiege the Ling family. This was something that could not be allowed to happen. She wanted to use the extermination of these 12 clans to intimidate the other clans in Yuhua town. She wanted them to understand that going against the Ling clan was bringing disaster upon their own clans. Ninth sword of the falling star sword technique. Universe break. As Ling Jiaojiao's voice fell, Ling Zhao's sword chi bloomed. This sword strike directly exploded where the 11 patriarchs were. After that, the 11 clan leaders either died or were injured. Not a single one of them was in good condition. It was so powerful that everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Ling Xiao did not continue to attack. He opened the beast ring and released 20 terrifying demon wolves. Almost every one of these demon wolves had reached the 9th Grotto Heaven realm. Among them, the Wolf King's strength was even at the half-step Yin Yang realm. These were all subdued by Ling Xiao using the three-leaf demonic eyes on his way back. Next, he might leave this place. In that case, the Ling family still lacked combat power. However, with these 20 demon wolves holding the fort, even an yin-yang realm martial artist would not dare to provoke the Ling family. The demon wolves roared and charged out, starting a massacre among the 12 clans. Demon beasts had no humanity, let alone mercy. When they killed, they would not be merciful at all. Screams rose and fell one after another. Even the workers who were filled with righteous indignation earlier trembled in fear and knelt on the ground one by one. Under such terrifying power, they did not have any courage to resist. From now on, you will be the Ling family's workers. Don't worry. I, Ling Xiao, swear that I will let you live a carefree life. As long as you work hard, you can even own your own property. Your descendants will also have the chance to escape the labor status and become normal people. Ling Xiao looked at the workers who were trembling in fear and threw them a big candy. Then he looked at Wu Sheng and said, "From now on, you will be the leader of the Ling family's workers. Remember, you have to work hard for the Ling family. You will not be short of benefits. However, if you try to rebel like today, don't blame me for being merciless. Great God, don't worry. We will only rebel because we can't live anymore. Even if we have a full meal, even if we are beaten and scolded, we will accept it." Wu Sheng looked at Ling Xiao and knelt on the ground as he spoke. "Very good. From today onwards, you are considered a member of the Ling family. However, your strength is too weak. Cultivate well. You will also have the opportunity to enter the Ling family's martial arts hall like other martial artists." Ling Xiao nodded with satisfaction. He would not create trouble for himself. Of course, he could not let all these workers go. Otherwise, all the mineral resources in Yuhua town would be wasted. Similarly, he would not go back on his words. He would give these workers the best working conditions within his capabilities. This was the only thing he could do. Things like changing the world, at least he could not do it now. It was not the time yet. 20 demon wolves joined the battle. In addition, the clan heads of the 12 clans were either killed or injured. They did not have any combat strength at all. This caused the 12 clans to be completely wiped out within a few hours. On this day, Yuhua town was filled with the smell of blood. The killing intent shrouded the entire place, and the sky was dark. However, to the Ling family, this was a battle to establish their status. After the battle, the cleanup of the battlefield was done by Wu Sheng and the workers. Of course, they did not do it for free. Ling Xiao promised that after the cleanup was completed, every worker would receive a reward corresponding to their efforts. As for what the reward was, he did not mention it. However, no matter if it was food, money, or anything else, they were all extremely attractive to these workers. Everything was ready. The Ling family held an internal meeting of the upper echelons. All the important figures were present. They sat there quietly and looked at Ling Xiao, who was sitting on the right side of Ling Jiaojiao. None of them dared to even breathe loudly. The shock that Ling Xiao gave them was simply too great. He could easily kill the clan head of the Chao clan and control 20 demon wolves. In the history of Yuhua town, no one had ever heard of such a thing. If there was really someone with such capabilities, then it would definitely be the saber-sword divine emperor. However, that was only a legend after all. Whether it was true or not was still unknown. However, Ling Xiao was a true legend. Chapter 2167. Ling Xiao glanced at everyone and said, "When you're preparing the venue, I took the time to refine the 4 hell fruits into 40 yin-yang hell pills. The effect of 1 pill is basically equivalent to the effect of 1 hell fruit." What? Ling Xiao did not open his mouth, but the moment he did, everyone was shocked. They had heard of the yin-yang hell pill before. It seemed to be a high-grade, profound-grade pill that could help a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist break through to the yin-yang realm with a 100% success rate. Generally speaking, 1 hell fruit could be used to refine 2 yin-yang hell pills. Furthermore, the refining time wouldn't be less than 10 days. Ling Zhao's total refining time did not exceed an hour, and he had actually refined 40 yin-yang hell pills? They didn't want to believe it, but they had to believe it. This was because Ling Xiao had been creating his own legend. He destroyed the Chen clan's genius. He destroyed the Qin clan with the 5-poison absolute killing array and controlled the 8 Immortals County's county governor, Lin Yuan. Then he killed 2 yin-yang realm martial artists by himself. He even set up an array to prevent the Ling clan from being destroyed. The most terrifying thing was that he subdued 20 demonic wolves on his way back. Which one of these actions wasn't unbelievable? Therefore, this matter didn't seem so ridiculous. I've already thought about how to deal with the pills. I'll keep 20 for myself. As for the remaining 20 pills, I'll give 1 to Ling Yan and 1 to the elder on duty. As for the remaining 18 pills, I'll leave them all to clan leader Jiao Jiao. Do you have any objections? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. Boss, your joke isn't funny. If anyone dares to have any objections, I will be the first to kill them. Ling Yan said with a smile. That's right. Without you, there wouldn't be any hell fruits, let alone yin-yang hell pills. It is already a great favor for you to give us 20 pills. How would we dare to have any objections? Ling Yuhua hurriedly shook his head. It's good that you don't have any objections. Let's put this matter aside for now and talk about the Devil's Shadow Sect. Ling Yan, you are most familiar with the Devil's Shadow Sect. How big of an impact will it have if I kill Mo Fengzi? Ling Xiao looked at Ling Yan and asked. Ling Yan muttered to himself. The Spectre sect has always sought revenge for the smallest grievance. If they find out that we killed Mo Fengzi, they will definitely not let this matter rest. But that Mo Fengzi should have only gone to look for Chen Pai and coincidentally bumped into us, which was why he was killed by little brother Ling Xiao. The Spectre sect wouldn't be able to find out about us so quickly, right? Ling Jiao frowned. Ling Yan shook his head and said, that's hard to say. With the Devil's Shadow Sect's habits, if they knew that Mo Fengzi was killed, they would definitely investigate. Mo Fengzi's whereabouts shouldn't be a secret, so they would be able to find out about it very quickly. Although the news of us snatching the hell's fruit hasn't been spread. As long as one isn't a fool, they should be able to guess that Mo Fengzi's death is related to our Ling family. The Devil's Shadow Sect would rather kill the wrong person than let them go. Who knows, they might just be suspicious and want to destroy our Ling family. Once this was said, everyone's brows immediately furrowed. They didn't expect that after the Qin family's matter, the shadow of the Devil's Shadow Sect would shroud this family. It was really difficult to deal with. Don't worry so much. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, after all, our Ling family is the guardian of the Ascension town of the 8 Immortals County. Even if the Devil's Shadow Sect wants to deal with us, they wouldn't dare to do it openly. At most, they would send some inconspicuous disciples to cause trouble. So for now, what you should consider isn't fear, but to increase your strength. Think about it. If our Ling family could have several yin-yang realm martial artists, would we still need to be afraid of the Devil's Shadow Sect? Or rather, would the Devil's Shadow Sect really not hesitate to go against such a powerful family for a single disciple? Ling Yan nodded and said, Boss is right. Although the Devil's Shadow Sect is as famous as the 3 great families in the 8 Immortals County, their strength isn't that great. This could be deduced from the cultivation bases of their 10 inner sect elders, 2 vice sect masters and 1 sect master. Their inner sect elders are basically at the 2nd level of the yin-yang realm of hell. Their 2 vice sect masters are at most at the 3rd level of the yin-yang realm. As for the sect master, he is at the peak of the 3rd level of the yin-yang realm. At most, he is at the 4th level of the yin-yang realm. The inner sect elders and above won't easily make a move. So even if they want to deal with our Ling family, they will only send outer and inner sect disciples. The strongest inner sect disciple of the Devil's Shadow Sect is Mo Fengzi. Even he was killed by Boss, so why should we be afraid of the others? Also, we have the formation set up by Boss and the 20 demon wolves. It won't be easy for the Devil's Shadow Sect to destroy us. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "So for now, what you need to do is to increase your cultivation. If 20 yin yang hell pills can create 20 yin yang realm martial artists, then our Ling family's overall strength will be very close to the Devil's Shadow sect. Of course, I will also go to the 8 Immortals County during this period of time to attract the attention of the Devil's Shadow sect and create opportunities for you to cultivate." He chose to go to the 8 Immortals County because a small place like Yuhua Town could no longer accommodate him. As the saying goes, a dragon in the shallows wouldn't be able to display its full strength. Only by going to the 8 Immortals County, which was bigger, had more resources, and had more opportunities, could he continue to grow stronger. After all, if Ling Xiao wanted to break through, the best way was to fight. Constantly fight with experts. As long as his cultivation broke through to the yin-yang realm, he wouldn't even care about the bullshit Devil's Shadow sect. Whether or not he was happy in Yuhua Town was in the past. Now, Yuhua Town was Ling Xiao's territory. Whoever wanted to destroy it would have to pay the price. And if he wanted to protect his territory, he had to become stronger. "Boss, you're leaving?" Ling Yen showed a reluctant expression. "Hey, we're all men. Don't show that expression, okay? It'll be misunderstood." Ling Xiao smiled and said, "I just made a life and death pact with Boss, and now I have to part. It's a bit sad." Ling Yen said with a wry smile, "I'm going to pave the way for you. You're also a reincarnation realm martial artist. Sooner or later, you'll have to go to the 8 Immortals County. I'm going to see what the 3 great clans and the Devil's Shadow sect are like. Then I'll decide what to do." Ling Xiao said, "Moreover, once I choose to join a sect stronger than the Devil's Shadow sect, the Devil's Shadow sect will definitely be more afraid of the Ling family. The 3 great clans are good and stronger than the Devil's Shadow sect, but I don't know if there's a stronger sect in the 8 Immortals County. Boss, I've heard that there's a hidden sect in the 8 Immortals County called the 8 Immortals Mountain. This sect accepts very few disciples. Only those with outstanding aptitude are qualified to join. But what's certain is that the comprehensive strength of the 8 Immortals Mountain is much stronger than the 3 great clans and the Devil's Shadow sect. It can be said that the Devil's Shadow sect is just an ant in front of the 8 Immortals Mountain." Chapter 2168. "Oh, how do I get to the 8 Immortals Mountain?" Ling Xiao asked. "Hee, boss, you asked the right person. I also joined the 8 Immortals Mountain to learn martial arts, which is why I have such achievements today. However, I am a martial artist who has reincarnated, so I can't recommend you. After you go to the 8 Immortals County, you can go directly to the 8 Immortals Restaurant. On the surface, it is a restaurant, but in fact, it is a place where the 8 Immortals Mountain gather information and recruit disciples. As long as there are martial artists with good aptitude who enter the restaurant to eat and drink, the 8 Immortals Mountain will invite them. As long as you pass their test, you can join." Ling Yen said with a smile. After he finished speaking, he gave Ling Xiao a jade token that he carried with him and said, "This is the jade token that I used to wear. If you really can't join the 8 Immortals Mountain, take it out. If I still have some influence, you can join. If not, with your talent, even if you don't join the 8 Immortals Mountain, you can still achieve supreme martial Dao in other sections. Then I will thank you first." Ling Xiao took Ling Yan's jade token and couldn't help but be shocked. If he didn't see it wrong, this jade token was something that the 8 Immortals Mountain Supreme Elder used to prove his identity. Ling Yan actually gave it to him, which showed how much trust he had in him. "Good brother, I won't say any touching words. Tomorrow morning, I will leave for the 8 Immortals County. If you need my help, just let me know." The reason why Ling Xiao didn't leave now and planned to leave tomorrow was that he wanted to use one night to perfect the outstanding martial arts in the Ling clan's martial arts hall. This was also the second precious asset that he left behind before leaving. "Why are you in such a hurry?" Ling Jiaojiao was obviously reluctant to part with Ling Xiao. During this period of time, she had become a little dependent on Ling Xiao. "I have always been a nimble person. The earlier I joined the 8 Immortals Mountain, the safer the Ling clan will be. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Big sister Jiao Jiao, you're now the patriarch of the Ling family. In the future, you'll have to shoulder the heavy responsibility of revitalizing the family. I won't say anything unnecessary. Cultivate well and try to break through to the Yinyang realm as soon as possible. You and Ling Yan are the two people I think the most highly of." "All right, I won't disappoint you." Ling Jiao Jiao gritted her teeth. If Ling Xiao had such expectations, then she would definitely satisfy Ling Xiao. "Boss, I will also go to the Eight Immortals County to meet up with you soon." Ling Yan planned to go there after he broke through to the Yinyang realm. One had to know that in the Eight Immortals County, the weakest cultivator was around the 9th Grotto Heaven realm. Moreover, it was the last of the last. Even if he broke through to the Yinyang realm, he would only be considered a mid-tier cultivator. After all, the Yinyang realm had 18 layers of hell to break through. This was the same for both ordinary warriors and reincarnation warriors. If there was a difference, it would be that it would be easier and safer for martial artists who had entered the cycle of reincarnation to go through the trials of hell. Furthermore, they would be able to obtain more benefits. Every time an ordinary warrior went through a trial of hell, they would be in danger of dying. Ling Yan had experienced it before, and so had Ling Xiao. That night, Ling Xiao stayed in the martial arts hall for the entire night. It wasn't until the next morning that he left a letter for Ling Jiao Jiao and went on his way alone. He left very secretly and no one knew. He did this naturally because he didn't want to be sad. After all, parting since ancient times was very sad. In his letter, he said everything that needed to be said. Of course, the most important thing was to point out the martial arts that he had modified in the Ling clan's martial arts hall. With these martial arts, he believed that the strength of the Ling clan's martial artists would have a huge breakthrough in a short period of time. The journey from Ascension Town to the Eight Immortals County was very long. Ordinary Yinyang realm, first-stage martial artists would have to walk for more than 10 days. However, for Ling Xiao, this journey only took 1 day. In order to reach the Eight Immortals County as soon as possible, Ling Xiao basically didn't stop halfway. In the afternoon, he could already see the majestic Eight Immortals County City in the distance. He had to admit that the scale of the Eight Immortals County City was really terrifying. It felt as if it wasn't inferior to the Divine Phoenix Empire's capital and the Sacred Dynasty's sacred city. No wonder people said that the Black Tortoise continent was much bigger than the other 3 continents combined. Now, it seemed like it wasn't wrong. A mere county city could reach the scale of the 3 continents' imperial capitals. This was really shocking. In the past, Ling Xiao had never seen the Eight Immortals County City. Today, he finally saw it for himself. The Eight Immortals County City had 8 city gates. Outside each city gate, there was a pass. The size of each pass was equivalent to an Ascension Town. Ling Xiao arrived at the East Pass, which was the closest to Ascension Town. Although it was just a pass, it had everything. Not only was there a business street, but there were also restaurants and tea houses. It was very lively. However, there were often fully armed soldiers patrolling the pass. These ordinary soldiers were around the 9th Grotto Heaven realm, and there were even 10th Grotto Heaven realm. If Ling Xiao wasn't a reincarnation realm martial artist, he would have been frightened by this scene. "Shandian, I really want to know, how big is the Immortal Palace?" Ling Xiao suddenly asked the godly codex in the storage ring with his soul power. "Well, it's hard to describe. You'll know when you have the chance in the future. I guarantee that you'll be shocked." Shindian said with a smile, "I'm a reincarnation realm martial artist. What kind of world have I not seen?" Ling Xiao laughed. "No, you don't understand at all. The reincarnation realm is the most special realm for martial artists. It can even be said that it's not even the same realm, because the energy and experience required to go from the first layer to the second layer, or from the first reincarnation realm to the second reincarnation realm, surpasses all your previous cultivation needs. It's even more than that. Therefore, don't think that it's just a difference of one realm. You have to know that a second-layer reincarnation realm martial artist can absolutely crush a first-layer reincarnation realm martial artist. You must have been a martial artist in the White Tiger continent. There were also martial artists who said that they were second or third-layer reincarnation realm. They were either stupid or lying. Actually, they might only be at the first or second level of the rebirth realm. Xin Dian's words completely shattered Ling Zhao's understanding of the world. He felt a little confused. I know that you're shocked. When your cultivation recovers to the first reincarnation realm, you'll know what I mean. Shen Dian smiled and said, After such a long journey, there's a wine shop in front. Why don't you take a rest and have something to eat? For martial artists, as long as they hadn't become immortals, they had to eat to survive. However, the higher the cultivation, the less food they had to eat. Chapter 2169. After having a good meal in the restaurant, Ling Xiao continued on his way. His goal was the 8 Immortal City, and he only stopped at the Eastern Pass for a short while. On the way, the divine grimoire flew out of the storage ring because it was too bored. Ling Xiao saw that there was no one around and did not stop her. After all, the divine grimoire had a soul. If she kept staying in the storage ring, she would suffocate to death. Obviously, the divine grimoire had never been to the 8 Immortal City and found everything new. She had a lot of fun. After walking for about 10 minutes, the majestic 8 Immortal City came into view. The number of people in front gradually increased. Ling Xiao originally planned to put the divine grimoire back into the storage ring, who knew that a terrifying force would suddenly attack from afar. It formed a giant hand made of elemental energy and grabbed the divine grimoire. Ling Xiao frowned and looked at a place not far away, about 200 meters away. A young man in gorgeous clothes with a few subordinates was holding the divine grimoire and playing with it. This person was about 17 or 18 years old, and his cultivation was around the half-step yin-yang realm level 5. He was not an expert, but if Ling Xiao wanted to defeat him, he might have to use the Hell Dragon seal. However, the divine grimoire was stolen, and he would not let it go. If he wanted to use the Hell Dragon seal, then so be it. Ling Xiao had even killed yin-yang realm martial artists. How could he be afraid of a half-step yin-yang realm martial artist? He hoped that the other party would not seek death. Judging from his clothes and temperament, this young man should be a martial artist from a large family. He did not know if he was from one of the 3 large families. If he was, then he had hit the jackpot this time. However, so what if he was? Could Ling Xiao tolerate someone stealing the divine grimoire and not ask about it? Was he willing to be a bastard? Of course not. Kid, how much is this sword? Just as he was thinking about it, that person suddenly walked over and asked Ling Xiao, looking down at him from above. Not selling. Ling Xiao replied indifferently. The man didn't mind and said with a smile, In this world, there is nothing that money can't buy. If you don't sell it, then you don't have enough money. How about this? I'll give you 100,000 low-grade spirit stones for this sword. How about it? 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. All the passing cultivators suddenly stopped and looked at this finely dressed young man in surprise. Using 100,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy a wooden sword? Was there something wrong with his brain? Of course, there were also those with better eyesight who could see that there were many special inscriptions on the wooden sword. These inscriptions should be the key to the formation of the formation. Don't tell me it's a sword of secret arts. Even if it's a secret technique sword, it's only worth 50 to 60,000 low-grade spirit stones at most. Moreover, secret technique swords are also divided into different grades. Just look at that kid's clothes, and you can tell that he's a country bumpkin. What kind of good sword could he have? That's true. Young Master Shin is probably going to suffer a loss this time. He's still afraid of losing? The amount of spirit stones that Shen Shi spent on women was more than this. I guess this secret technique sword also looks beautiful, so he wants to give it to a girl. Clearly, there were people in the crowd who recognized the finely dressed young master's identity. He was one of the direct disciples of the Shun family, Shinshur. A direct disciple was one of the Shun family's own people. Moreover, he was a young master who was very generous and was not weak. When Ling Xiao heard these discussions, he could not help but think that he and the Shin family were really fated. That day in Yuhua town, the representative of the Shun family, Shin Luochen, wanted to teach him a lesson, but was stopped by Lin Yuan. Later, Shen Meng plotted to frame the Ling family, but was destroyed by him. Now there was this Shin Shur. It was really a small world for enemies. However, Ling Xiao did not intend to cause trouble today. His goal was only to get the divine grimoire back. Because he was going to the 8 Immortals' house next, he did not want to cause trouble. Of course, if this Shin Shur did not know what was good for him and insisted on causing trouble here, then he really did not mind beating this guy up until even his own mother could not recognize him. At this time, Shin Shur was touching the secret technique sword, but his heart was very shocked. This sword, just now he purely felt that it was beautiful. Moreover, it could fly on its own, which was extremely rare. He planned to get it and give it to the sister of the 8 Immortals Mountain. Today just happened to be the day of the 8 Immortals Mountain's disciple recruitment. Many young martial artists from all over the world gathered in the 8 Immortals' house. Among them, there were many from the 3 great families. Because he had a relative who worked in the 8 Immortals Mountain, he knew the deacon's sister who was in charge of recruiting disciples. Although deacons were not as good as elders in the 8 Immortals Mountain, their strength and status were very high. Moreover, that sister was extremely beautiful, and he was drooling. If he gave this to that sister, he could communicate with her. But now, he was a little reluctant to part with it. He had done some research on secret technique swords and found that this sword was much more outstanding than the secret technique swords he had seen before. The potential contained in it was simply vast and boundless. If he could take it for himself, it would definitely be a great help to him. He decided that no matter what price he had to pay today, he would get this secret technique sword. If 100,000 low-grade spirit stones were not enough, then 200,000. If the opposite brat did not know what was good for him, then he did not mind making a move. Thinking of this, without waiting for Ling Xiao to speak, he opened his mouth and said, 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. Now you should be satisfied, right? Don't be too greedy, otherwise you will get into trouble. Hearing this, the surrounding crowd became even more excited. 200,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy a wooden sword. This Shinshur was really a prodigal son. Young man, hurry up and sell it. 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. Looking at your background, it is estimated that you will not be able to get so many low-grade spirit stones in your lifetime. Yes, yes. Why is that wooden sword not mine? Good luck is taken by this country bumpkin. Everyone persuaded Ling Xiao to sell the wooden sword, as if 200,000 low-grade spirit stones were a big bargain. However, Ling Xiao's face revealed a bit of ridicule. The other party obviously saw that the secret technique sword was unusual, so he offered the price of 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. Only Ling Xiao understood the secret technique book was the secret technique book. That sword was the ultimate secret technique sword that included almost all the series of secret techniques. 200,000 low-grade spirit stones? If he wanted to buy it, even if he used up all of the Shen family's assets, it would still be impossible. Sorry, although this wooden sword is not much, but it is a family heirloom, I will not sell it, not to mention 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. Even if it is 200,000 high-grade spirit stones, it is impossible. Ling Xiao shook his head and calmly refused Shinshur's offer. The crowd immediately boiled again. Is this person stupid? 200,000 low-grade spirit stones, and he is not willing to sell. If it was me, I would have gone crazy. Yes, I did not expect this country bumpkin to not only be poor, but also a fool. Young Master Shin is not happy This kid is going to be unlucky. Chapter 2170. Most of the discussions in the crowd were ridiculing Ling Xiao. However, this was normal. On one side was a direct descendant of the Shin family, and on the other side was a country bumpkin. Those who had the ability to choose would not stand on Ling Xiao's side. Not selling? You brat, you really don't know what's good for you. Shen Shi did not need to speak up. One of his henchmen stood up and threw a card-like thing to Ling Xiao and said, "Take it obediently. This is the Heavenly Dragon Trading Company's savings card. There are exactly 200,000 low-grade spirit stones in it. You can go to any Heavenly Dragon Trading Company or auction house to exchange. Get lost while our young master is still in a good mood. Don't get the spirit stones and you will be crippled. Get lost." The henchman seemed very proud. Ling Xiao had seen a lot of people like this who used their connections to intimidate others, so he did not care. He just looked at Shen Shi indifferently and said, "Young Master Shin is a big shot. You won't argue with a small person like me. That wooden sword really can't be sold." Until now, Ling Xiao still showed a very modest side. He had just arrived at the Eight Immortals County, so he did not want to cause trouble. "Hey, little bastard, don't you know what's good for you?" The henchman rushed over and pushed Ling Xiao fiercely. Originally, he wanted to push Ling Xiao to the ground. However, this push seemed to have pushed a huge rock and did not move at all. "Hey, you have some skills. No wonder you are so arrogant." The henchman did not push Ling Xiao and could not help but be stunned for a moment. The crowd was also stunned for a moment. In their hearts, they thought, "It turns out that this young man is quite strong. However, he is so young. I am afraid that his strength is limited." Just now, the henchman did not use his true strength. If he used his true strength, this young man would not be able to withstand it. Moreover, the henchman had Shen Shi behind him. Shen Shi was a half-step yin-yang realm martial artist and had reached the 5th level of strength. Perhaps he could poke this young man to death with just his little finger. This young man was really too arrogant and conceited. The geniuses from small towns all had this kind of temperament. However, most of them failed in the larger county cities. Of course, Ling Xiao did not know what these onlookers were thinking. At this moment, he was already furious. He didn't want to cause any trouble. After all, he was new here, so it was better to keep a low profile. After joining the Eight Immortals Mountain, it would not be too late to show off. But the profound world was like this. The more you kept a low profile and tolerated it, the more others would think you were easy to bully, and the more unwilling they would be to give up. Seeing that he couldn't push Ling Xiao away, the lackey felt that he had lost face in front of the young master. He was extremely displeased. He actually directly circulated his inner strength and wanted to use martial arts to push back Ling Xiao. Although this lackey was arrogant, Ling Xiao had to admit that his cultivation was abnormally strong. He was actually at the 9th Grotto Heaven realm. With such a cultivation base, he would definitely be considered a super expert in Yuhua Town. It must be known that in Ascension Town, the patriarchs of those mid-level clans were only at this level of strength. However, with such strength in the Eight Immortal City, he could only be a lackey for others. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to scram or not? I don't care which city's genius you are, but remember, since you've come to the Eight Immortal City, you must know about the 3 clans and 1 sect. The 3 clans are the 3 great clans, and the 1 sect is the Devil's Shadow sect. If you offend any one of them, you and the people around you will suffer a calamity beyond redemption. Are you still not going to scram? The lackey wanted to use words to scare Ling Xiao away. This would make him look more respectable. Otherwise, even if he, a 9th Grotto Heaven realm cultivator, repelled a country bumpkin from a small town, there was nothing to be happy about. If he couldn't repel him, it would be embarrassing. I've naturally heard of the 3 great clans, but I didn't expect that the Shen family would actually produce such shameless things like you. Do you think that bullying others like this and taking things by force is adding glory to your family? I'm afraid not, right? If you do this, It will only bring shame to your Shen family. Moreover, aren't you afraid of offending someone you shouldn't offend and causing the Shin family to be uprooted? A murderous glint flashed across Ling Zhao's eyes as he faced this lackey. He had been able to endure enough, but now he felt that he didn't need to endure anymore. In any case, the Shun family probably wouldn't get along with him peacefully. After all, he had killed Shin Meng, so it was impossible for the Shin family not to investigate. In the end, they would still blame him. Since that was the case, even if he crippled Shin Shi today, the result would probably be the same. Good boy. You still want to destroy the Shin family? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Just because we gave you some face, you think you can open a dye house? Young master, do you want to teach this disobedient fellow a lesson? The lackey asked as he turned to look at Shin Shi. After all, whether or not he wanted to make a move, he still had to ask for his master's opinion. Otherwise, if this small matter brought shame to the Shun family, he couldn't bear the responsibility. Just teach him a lesson, don't kill him. Let him know that the outside world is much bigger than he imagined. He can run amok in the small town, but here it's better to tuck his tail between his legs and behave properly. Shen Shi only cared about playing with the secret sword. The more he played with it, the more pleased he felt. He came out today because he had received orders from his family to bring a person called Ling Xiao back to the family, saying that he had some questions to ask. He didn't expect to obtain such a precious treasure. This was really something that couldn't be stopped by luck. However, he didn't know that this kind of luck was sometimes better off not having it, because it was bad luck that could bring death to him. The lackey received Shen Shi's order. He gathered his internal energy and kicked Ling Xiao. Although he didn't use any martial arts techniques, the kick contained a terrifying amount of internal energy. Generally, if a cultivator below the 9th Grotto Heaven Realm didn't dodge, there would only be one end result, and that was to be severely injured. What a pity. Such a young genius might grow up to be a big shot in the future. Why did he have to offend someone he shouldn't have? Yeah, his future was destroyed just like that. Crack! Amidst the discussion of the crowd, there was indeed something that was broken. However, it wasn't Ling Zhao's life or future that was broken, but the lackey's leg bone. The lackey's kick was too powerful, as if he wanted to kick Ling Xiao to death. But the more he did so, the more serious the injury on his leg was. Ling Xiao stood there like a towering mountain. He didn't move at all. Instead, the lackey hugged his leg and held in pain. Shen Shi finally turned his head and looked at Ling Xiao in the eye. The surrounding crowd was also surprised. It seems that this kid has some skills. Yeah, after being kicked like that, not only was he not injured, but his leg was also broken. I guess his cultivation is at least at the 10th Grotto Heaven Realm. Chapter 2171. So what if he's a genius? Do you think he can be compared to Shin Shi? Everyone sighed. They now admitted that Ling Zhao's strength was not bad. But you have to look at the master before beating the dog. Now that he injured the Shun family's henchman, Shen Shi would not let him go. Even if he was stronger than the henchman, it was impossible for him to be stronger than Shin Shi. The 4 henchmen behind Shin Shi saw that one of their own was injured and rushed towards Ling Xiao. But at this time Shin Shi waved his hand and said, "Take that trash to the side. You are not his opponent. He came from the east. There are many towns. Maybe he is an outstanding genius from one of the towns." Arrogant and conceited. Overestimating one's strength is the common characteristic of these people. Today, this young master will teach him what it means by there is always someone better. Just right. Today is the 8 Immortal Mountains disciple recruitment. I also need to warm up. But young master, this kind of trash does not need you to make a move. Let's go together and eat him. One of the henchmen said, "Enough. Do you think that you have not lost enough face? Do you want others to say that our Shin family is bullying him?" Shen Shi waved his hand and finally looked at Ling Xiao and said, "Kid, this young master did not intend to argue with you today. It is you who does not know what is good for you. You said that this sword is yours, but what evidence do you have? This young master also said that this sword is mine. Today, if you can't give a reason or evidence, not only will you not get a single spirit stone, you will also have to slap yourself 100 times to remind yourself. Ling Zhao's face became gloomy and cold. Was this the Shen family's disciple? He was actually so arrogant and shameless. It would not be justifiable if he did not make a move. Of course I have evidence. Ling Xiao said coldly. If I call it, it will answer. If you call it, it will not respond. Hey, this is strange. This is the first time I heard that this wooden sword can talk. Following Ling Zhao's words, the crowd burst into an uproar again. Xindian, who is your master? Ling Xiao didn't care about what the crowd was talking about and shouted at the godly codex. Master, save me. This guy's grip is too strong. I can't break free. The godly codex's cry for help came from the secret technique sword. The onlookers suddenly opened their mouths wide and were all dumbfounded. It really responded. My God, today is an eye-opener. Xin Shi frowned. He had just said that Ling Xiao did not have any evidence to prove that the sword belonged to Ling Xiao. In the end, the other party had found evidence. This caused him to lose a lot of face. He suddenly released a powerful aura in an attempt to inject it into the secret technique sword to intimidate the divine grimoire. Then he asked, Who is your master? You shameless thing. Do you think that by scaring me I'll be scared? I only have one master, and that's that handsome young man over there. Trash, like you doesn't deserve him at all. The divine grimoire could determine a person's talent and potential. Although Shen Shi's cultivation was stronger than Ling Zhao's, he was still just an ordinary warrior. However, Ling Xiao was a warrior who had entered the reincarnation realm. Moreover, Ling Zhao's body had a power that shocked the divine grimoire. That was the tyrannical martial spirit. This was the reason why the divine grimoire followed Ling Xiao wholeheartedly. Of course, this was not the only reason. If Ling Xiao abandoned her today, she would never return to Ling Zhao's side. There was no point in being attached to a master who could abandon you at will, no matter how strong he was. However, Ling Xiao didn't abandon her. In the face of a powerful enemy, Ling Xiao chose to confront and fight head-on instead of running away. This made the divine grimoire very moved. Speaking of which, her relationship with Ling Xiao wasn't close. It could only be considered a temporary master-servant relationship. They didn't even have a contract. She was already very satisfied that Ling Xiao could do this for her. This was why she chose Ling Xiao. Okay, then if I kill him, you'll be ownerless. For the sake of the secret technique, Shen Shi had actually exposed his killing intent. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao and then snatch the secret technique sword for himself. Speaking of this, Shen Shi planned to put the secret technique sword into his storage ring, but the divine grimoire refused and wouldn't go in. He had no choice but to take it in his hand. In his opinion, he could easily defeat Ling Xiao even with one hand. After he killed Ling Xiao, he didn't believe that the sword wouldn't yield. His aura suddenly surged out. Half-step yin-yang realm 3rd level power. This guy was actually saving his strength and didn't want to use his full strength to deal with Ling Xiao. Maybe in his opinion, this bit of power was enough. After all, the aura released by the 3rd level of the half-step yin-yang realm was terrifying enough. Ling Xiao could feel that although Xin Shi was very shameless today, his foundation was very solid. He was probably one of the rare geniuses of the Shen family. After all, it wasn't easy to reach half-step yin-yang realm at the age of 17 or 18. Xin Shi, who released a terrifying aura, stared at Ling Xiao. The Shen family's martial soul was the storm martial soul. As a direct descendant of the Shen family, Xin Shi naturally had such a martial soul. However, he didn't release it and only used a bit of his martial soul's power. It was as if a god of wind was glaring at Ling Xiao. I was wondering how strong you were. You dared to rob in the Eat Immortals County. It seems like you are only at the half-step yin-yang realm. Shen Meng from your Shen family was at the yin-yang realm, but he died in Yuhua town. Are you planning to follow in his footsteps? In my opinion, the one who doesn't know how high the sky is isn't me, but you. Do you think the 8 Immortal City is everything? In fact, the 8 Immortal City is just a small place in the eyes of many people. Ling Xiao looked at Xinshi and slowly released his peak Grotto Heaven Realm aura. The iron sword in his hand was mottled and stained with all kinds of blood. It was a chilling sight to behold. Boom! The terrifying killing intent rushed toward Xinshi and made Xinshi's expression change drastically. He couldn't help but take 3 or 4 steps back. The number of people Ling Xiao had killed was probably more than the number of meals Xinshi had eaten. His killing intent was definitely top-notch, even among the reincarnation realm martial artists. Moreover, how could Xinshi compare with him? Xinshi was only a young man of 17 or 18 years old. He lived a carefree life in the 8 Immortal City all year round. You haven't killed anyone yet, right? Seeing Xinshi retreat in fear, Ling Xiao said contemptuously, Who told you I haven't killed anyone? I have. Xinshi tried to calm himself down, but the killing intent was too terrifying. He couldn't calm down at all. Even if you have killed, you've only killed civilians. A martial artist who hasn't been on the battlefield and hasn't experienced life and death battles. I really don't know where you get the courage to compete with me. Chapter 2172. Hold this sword for me. Xinshi knew that he couldn't win with only one hand, so he hurriedly threw the secret sword to his subordinates. However, the divine grimoire took the opportunity to escape to Ling Xiao's side. Come back! Xinshi was furious. He struck out with his right hand, and the wind condensed into a giant hand to grab the divine grimoire back. Humph! Ling Xiao didn't make a move. He just snorted, and his killing intent formed a terrifying phantom. Xinshi was so scared that he retracted his hand. Get lost. Don't bother me again, or I'll kill you. Ling Xiao glanced in the direction of the city gate. The soldiers there seemed to be whispering to each other. He didn't want to cause more trouble. Now that he had taken back the divine grimoire, he planned to leave. However, even if he wanted to leave, Xinshi wouldn't let him. A half-step Yin-Yang realm warrior was scared by Ling Xiao. If this spread out, he wouldn't be able to stay in the 8 Immortal City anymore. Boom! Behind Xinshi, a terrifying storm condensed and formed. He had finally released his powerful storm martial spirit. At the same time, he also released all his cultivation. 50% of his strength burst out. The wind raged, and Ling Xiao's killing intent was gradually wiped out by the fighting intent of the martial soul. After all, Ling Xiao's cultivation was too low. If he was in the half-step Yin-Yang realm, his killing intent alone would be enough to make Xinshi collapse. But now he had to make a move. You're just in the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. How dare you embarrass me like this? You're too arrogant. Xinshi's voice was almost a roar, because only by roaring could he feel a little better. Ling Xiao said indifferently, It's not that I'm too arrogant. It's that you're too embarrassing. You're in the half-step Yin-Yang realm with 50% of your strength, but you're scared by a nobody like me. I'm afraid young Master Shin's courage is even smaller than a green bean. Ha ha ha. Wild laughter came from the crowd. The 8 Immortal City was not the Qin family city. It was controlled by the 3 great clans. Therefore, even if Xinshi was here, no one would dare to mock him. But then again, there were still many people who were worried for Ling Xiao. In the end, killing intent was just an intangible thing. What determined the strength of both sides was still the actual strength. Ling Xiao provoked Xinshi like this. Could it be that he didn't want to live anymore? Xinshi's anger had reached its peak. Not only did Ling Xiao dare to defy him, but he also refused to sell the secret sword to him. He had even humiliated him with his murderous aura and even insulted him in the end. If he did not kill this brat in front of him today, then he would not be Xinshi. Die, you brat! I didn't plan to kill you. I just wanted your things. Since you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for being impolite. Kill! Xinshi roared, his body wrapped in a storm, and rushed towards Ling Xiao. He was fast and powerful. The crops on both sides of the road were blown to the side. Many passers-by were afraid that they would be implicated and hurriedly dodged to the side. Ling Xiao looked at the charging Shen Shi and could not help but smile. This Shen Shi did have some skills. Coupled with the storm martial soul's movement technique, he had both the advantage of attack and speed. If it was an ordinary 10th Grotto Heaven realm martial artist, under such a terrifying attack they could only wait for death. But who was he? He was Ling Xiao, the heavenly emperor of the heavenly empire. Even though he had reincarnated, he still had his previous experience and knowledge. If he was afraid of this, then he would have been killed by Xin Meng in the Feather Mountain Range. Ling Xiao did not use the Hell Dragon Seal because he felt that it was not necessary. The Hell Dragon Seal was his trump card to deal with Yin-Yang realm martial artists. He had other ways to deal with half-step Yin-Yang realm martial artists. Since there was a difference in strength, then he would win with technique. In terms of experience and technique, this Shen Shi could not catch up to Ling Xiao even if he flattered him. Ling Xiao sneered and aimed his iron sword at Shen Shi. You want to block this young master's attack with that piece of scrap metal of yours? You are courting death. Shen Shi roared, his fists exploding. Storm Destruction Fist. Rumble. Before the fists arrived, the destructive force had already begun. The ground was constantly destroyed and many deep pits appeared. The passers-by were shocked. As expected of a direct descendant of the Shun family, this Storm Destruction Fist is too terrifying. It should be a low-grade jade martial skill. He has already cultivated it to the great perfection stage. Its power is so terrifying. A big family's foundation is too deep. It is not something a small town's genius can compare to. Look, that kid is scared silly. The crowd looked at Ling Xiao and realized that Ling Xiao was standing there motionless. He did not attack or retreat. It was as if he was scared silly. Only a woman with a veil on her face revealed a slight smile. Xin Chong, that Shen Shi is your younger brother, right? The woman smiled and asked the middle-aged man beside her. Deacon, you are right. He is indeed my younger brother. He is only 17 years old this year and has already reached half-step Yin-Yang Realm Level 5. This Storm Destruction Fist is only a low-grade jade martial skill, but in his hands it can unleash terrifying destructive power. Shen Chong said proudly. Then you have to be careful. He is probably going to lose. Get ready to rescue him. The woman smiled. Impossible. Such a powerful fist skill. That kid has already lost his mind. How can my younger brother lose? Shin Chong shook his head in disbelief. Haha, you don't believe what I said. You really don't have good eyesight. That young man is a reincarnated warrior. Although his cultivation is not as good as your brother Shinshur, he has a lot of experience. Many times when the gap in strength is not too big, when there is not much difference in strength, techniques can make up for it. The woman smiled and did not say anything else. She just looked at the battlefield. At this moment, Shen Shi's fist had already come into contact with Ling Xiao's iron sword. Then, everyone saw Ling Xiao's body frantically retreating. It was as if he could not stop after being hit by the fist. Shen Shi was also very excited. He roared, "Die! Die! Die!" Shin Chong smiled secretly. Our deacon is usually arrogant and self-righteous. Today he is going to lose. How can my younger brother lose to such a trash? Most likely, other than that woman, everyone present believed that Ling Xiao would definitely lose. In fact, the scene seemed to be the same. Ling Xiao seemed to have been sent flying by Shen Shi's fist. He just did not escape. After flying for more than 20 meters, the two of them finally stopped. Ah, your fist is really terrifying. If it was a head-on clash, I wouldn't be a match for you. But now, are you feeling tired? Ling Xiao's originally calm face showed a cold smile. Shen Shi was shocked and knew that something was wrong. At this moment, he had just finished his attack. He had used up all his strength and had not recovered his new strength. he was at his weakest. Chapter 2173. Impossible! It's impossible that you didn't consume any energy at all. Shin-Shur exclaimed. Idiot, didn't you feel it? I just moved at the same time as you. Your attack power didn't even reach me at all. All of it was consumed in these 20 meters. If you have to say that I consumed some energy, it's just that I consumed a little bit of internal force in the process of retreating. After saying that, Ling Xiao directly flew up and kicked Shin-Shur's abdomen. Shin-Shur was like an ordinary person who didn't know martial arts. His body was kicked until it was bent. His eyes bulged out. Blood spurted out from his mouth. He was sent flying for a full 30 meters, and he only managed to stop after crashing into a few of his lackeys. However, his face had already turned into the color of pig liver. It seemed that he had suffered a lot. Not dead. Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment. He was very confident in his kick. If there were no special circumstances, this kick would definitely kick the opponent to death. This was also the reason why he didn't use his sword. He miscalculated. Swish! At this moment, Shin-Shur's outer clothes were torn, revealing the golden soft armor inside. Ling Xiao suddenly realized this Shin-Shur was indeed a noble young master. He was really extravagant. He actually wore such a defensive magic treasure inside. No wonder. If he had known earlier, he would have directly pierced his throat with his sword. Even this defensive magic treasure would be useless. TSK. Really troublesome. Ling Xiao walked toward Shin-Shur with his iron sword. Since he had decided to kill a person, he would not stop halfway. At this time, the crowd had already been completely stunned. This scene, except for the mysterious woman, no one had thought of it. How could this be? Shin-Chong was also dumbfounded. In terms of strength, his younger brother was clearly superior, but he was almost kicked to death by this brat. This was simply beyond his scope of understanding. Don't be so surprised. This is just a technique. Even I have to admit that although I can understand what he did, I can't do it. In the process of retreating, he had to always maintain the same speed as the opponent. At the same time, he had to gather strength in his legs, ready to seize the fleeting opportunity to attack. It's too terrifying. This person's control of internal energy has reached the acme of perfection. I think even the sect master of the 8 Immortals Mountain wouldn't be able to do that. The woman's eyes flickered with astonishment. Today, she had come down the mountain to recruit disciples. She hoped to look around and find young warriors with the qualifications to join the 8 Immortals Mountain. Who would have thought that they would meet here? Lord Deacon, you're exaggerating too much. I think that kid is just playing a trick. Shin-Chong was not convinced. After all, the one who was beaten was his younger brother. How could he be convinced? Shin-Shur, stand up for me. You have disgraced the Shen family. How can you not even kill a 10th Grotto Heaven realm warrior? Do you still want to join the 8 Immortals Mountain? Shin-Chong suddenly roared at Shin-Shur, who was lying on the ground. Shin-Shur stood up shakily and took out a pill from his storage ring and swallowed it. Originally, the defensive magic treasure had offset a lot of damage for him. With the addition of this healing pill, he quickly recovered to 70 to 80% of his strength. He looked at Ling Xiao indifferently and roared, "Kid, I admit that I have underestimated you. Your trick is really good, but it can only show off for a while. It can't be used to win in the end. Have you heard of the saying that one person can defeat 10 people? Now, I'll show you what true terror is. It's a gap that your skills can't make up for. Big brother, can I use that?" He suddenly looked at Shin-Chong and asked. Others didn't know what Shin-Shur was talking about, but Shin-Chong knew. "What's the level of your cultivation?" Shin-Chong asked. "Not very good. I've only cultivated it to the proficient level." Shin-Shur replied, "What? You actually cultivated a mid-tier jade grade martial skill to the proficient level? Not bad, not bad. Good, you can use it. Let our Lord Deacon see what a descendant of a famous sect is like. You're not someone that a small-town warrior can compare with." Shin Chong said excitedly. Although the others didn't completely understand what they were talking about, they still understood the key meaning. In other words, Shenshur actually learned a mid-tier jade grade martial skill in a very short period of time. More importantly, he had already cultivated it to the proficient level. The destructive Storm Fist was just a low-tier jade grade martial skill, but it was already so terrifying. How strong was this mid-tier jade grade martial skill? Would Ling Xiao's trick still work? I'll let him know what despair is, what fear is. Shen Shi began to gather his strength. This move seemed to be very powerful, but he needed a long time to gather it. Ling Xiao couldn't help but sneer. Idiot on the battlefield, who would give you such a long time to gather a big move? His figure suddenly flashed, and in a flash he was already in front of Shin Shi. His iron sword slashed towards Shen Shi's neck. Despicable! How can you attack when others are gathering their moves? This is not in accordance with the rules. Some scattered voices came from the crowd. Idiot, this is a life and death battle, not an arena battle. What's wrong with doing this? I think this kid from the small town is not bad. He's really a capable guy. Maybe he can really kill Shin Shi. Regardless of what others said, Shin Shi was completely frightened. The move that was gathering stopped abruptly. There was a fishy smell coming from his crotch. Wet your pants. It can't be right. Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment and sighed. Okay, don't be so scared. I'll give you a chance to finish this move. He suddenly retreated to the side and stood there smiling. He felt like an adult bullying a child. Actually, there were two reasons why he retreated. One was because he was really curious about the mid-tier jade grade martial skill that Shin Shi talked about. He didn't know if it would be able to make him happy. As a martial artist, he liked to fight, and he liked to learn from battles. Another reason why he had to retreat was because of the terrifying, murderous aura behind him. He had no choice but to retreat. The one who released the murderous aura was naturally Shin Shi's brother, Shin Chong. If Ling Xiao's sword dared to slash down, then Shin Chong would definitely kill Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao didn't need to sacrifice his own life to kill that trash. Therefore, he retreated. Kid, you'll regret it. You'll regret it. Shin Shi was almost mad. He actually wet his pants in front of so many people, and he was scared to the point of wetting his pants. He had lost all his face. Unless he could kill Ling Xiao today, otherwise, he didn't know how many people would laugh at him in the future. He really couldn't tolerate it. As he spoke, Shin Shi was already enveloped by a mysterious light, and a strong aura kept condensing. The storm martial spirit behind him seemed to have merged with his body. Chapter 2174. A terrifying gust of wind was released continuously. Many of the spectators were blown dozens of meters away. The ground under Ling Xiao's feet was also constantly shaking from the wind. It was as if a layer of the earth had been peeled off. It's really powerful. However, my immortal seal is not to be trifled with either. Ling Xiao knew that the falling star sword technique alone was definitely not enough to deal with Shen Shi's powerful move. Therefore, he simply put away the iron sword. On his body, the pitch-black flames began to burn. Behind him, the shadow of the third Prince Neza was faintly discernible and gradually became clearer. 3 heads and 6 arms, holding the fire-tipped spear, the heaven and earth ring, the red armillary sash, and stepping on the firestorm wheels. It was awe-inspiring and made people tremble. In the Transcendent Seal, there were a total of 6 moves about the third Prince Neza. Ling Xiao had only comprehended one of them. That was the Heaven and Earth Strike, evolved from the Heaven and Earth Ring. Today, facing Shin Shi, not only did Ling Xiao have to use the Heaven and Earth Strike, but he also had to use another move that he had comprehended on the way, the Firestorm Wheels. The moment the shadow behind Ling Xiao appeared, the crowd could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. This young man's fighting style was so strange that they could not predict how the next battle would develop. Transcendent Seal, the third Prince Neza, Firestorm Wheels. As Ling Xiao roared, the black flames on his body gathered at the soles of his feet. At that moment, two black flame wheels formed under his feet. His speed increased sharply in an instant. He turned into a black flame and rushed out. This speed was much faster than Shinshir's previous speed. Therefore, when Xinchong saw this, he was shocked. If Ling Xiao continued to bully Xinshir, he would have to take action. However, when he turned back to look at Xinshir, he found that Xinshir's terrifying move was basically completed. Even if Ling Xiao arrived, he would only be able to withstand an even more terrifying attack. The closer he was, the greater the damage he would suffer. He's really a genius. The mysterious woman couldn't help but praise. Lord Deacon, you flatter me. My younger brother is only thanks to the Shen family's resources. However, you are not wrong to say that he is a genius. Xinchong said proudly. The mysterious woman smiled but didn't say anything. This made Xinchong very embarrassed. He suddenly realized that he had misunderstood the deacon's words. The other party should be praising Ling Xiao, not Xinshir. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Of course that fella isn't bad either. His unique body technique is really unheard of." At this moment, on the other side of the battlefield, Xinshir finally released his so-called ultimate move, Tempest Eagle. A ferocious storm broke through the air and transformed into a majestic falcon. The wind elements roared in the void, creating terrifying sonic booms in the surroundings. The crowd exclaimed in surprise. If this Tempest Eagle were to land on a mountain, the entire mountain would probably be flattened. Strong. How will that brat deal with it? People looked at Ling Xiao. However, they found that a ring-shaped flame circle had formed on Ling Xiao's hands. It also contained a terrifying energy. He can actually condense such a powerful move at such a fast speed. Based on this point alone, the brat's degree of genius is above young Master Shin. If young Master Shin knows this, he will be furious. In the crowd, those who had good eyesight exclaimed, "Universe Strike!" Ling Xiao's attack also left his hand. Coupled with the terrifying speed brought by the wind-fire wheels, the power of the Universe Strike was also greatly enhanced. At that moment, the two forces of energy exploded in the void and swept wildly in all directions. A confrontation between wind and fire. The wind and fire were merciless, scaring the onlookers into fleeing. Some people who couldn't escape in time were really in trouble. Although they weren't directly killed, their clothes were burned. They were also burned until they were screaming. The few henchmen of the Shun family who had just gotten up from the ground didn't understand what was going on. They were swept into the sky by a gust of wind, mixed with black flames, and then thrown out. How is it possible? How can this brat have such a powerful move? In a small town, the strongest martial arts should be low-tier jade. How can he have a mid-tier jade martial arts? And looking at the proficiency and power of this brat's release, I'm afraid that he is more proficient than Xinshir. Xinchong looked at the scene and couldn't believe his eyes. He thought that the brat would be crippled just like that, and he could also show off in front of the deacon. After all, in Xinchong's opinion, it was not appropriate for a woman to be the deacon of 8 Immortals Mountain. He should be the deacon. But after this attack, why did it feel like they were evenly matched? It seemed that this woman had hit the nail on the head. He had become a pathetic joke again. No, it must be an illusion. It looks like they are evenly matched, but in fact, the brat must be dying. The winner is my brother. Xinchong shook his head. He couldn't believe that Ling Xiao's attack was stronger than his brother's, so he began to numb himself. He stared at the situation in the field, hoping to know the final result. The dust settled. Everyone finally saw the two figures clearly. Ling Xiao seemed to have only taken 2 steps back. He stood there with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. It had to be said that Xinshir was strong. After all, his cultivation was there, and it was not a bluff. But Ling Xiao also proved his judgment once again. After the first transition, The cultivation of the 10th Grotto Heaven realm could completely crush a half-step yin-yang realm martial artist below the 5th level of strength. Of course, if he wanted to deal with stronger martial artists, he would have to use the Hell Dragon Seal. But once he used the Hell Dragon Seal, he could even fight against a yin-yang realm martial artist at the 1st level of Hell. "Where's young Master Shin?" someone suddenly asked. "Over there." Everyone looked for a long time before they found that Shen Shi had been sent flying into a deep pit more than 10 meters away. His entire body sank in, and even the golden defensive armor he was wearing was shattered. This scene once again made everyone unable to react for a long time. They all thought that even if Ling Xiao was strong enough, he would not be able to defeat Shen Shi in a direct confrontation. At most, they would be evenly matched. But the final result was Ling Xiao's complete victory. It was obvious that Shen Shi had been knocked unconscious. If not for the defensive armor, he would have been a corpse. A mid-tier jade grade martial skill. Even the Eagle Tempest couldn't kill that brat. That's a mid-tier jade grade martial skill at the expert realm. Shin Chong also stared blankly at the scene. His heart was in a mess. Chapter 2175. After a while, Shen Chong came back to his senses. He rushed to the field and checked on Shin Shi's injuries. Fortunately, he's not dead. Shin Chong directly fed Shin Shi a healing pill. Looking at the shattered defensive armor, he still felt a lingering fear. If he didn't have this thing, his little brother would have been killed right in front of him. Damn it. Little bastard, you dare to injure a disciple of the Shen family in the 8 Immortals County. Do you know the consequences? Shin Chong looked at Ling Xiao with a murderous look. In his opinion, Ling Xiao was already a corpse. His cultivation was much stronger than Shin Shi's. Enough. Since he's not dead, let's end this here. Just as Shin Chong was about to make a move, he saw the mysterious woman walk out. She said calmly, "Initially, it was wrong of Master Shen to bully others and steal other people's things. Now that he has been injured, he deserves it. But Lord Deacon..." Shin Chong's eyes were red. He was very angry, but he did not dare to disobey the orders of the Lord Deacon. If the Ling family of Yuhua Town was just a small insect in the eyes of the Shen family, then the Shen family was just an ant in the eyes of the 8 Immortals Mountain. Even the Shen family did not dare to offend the 8 Immortals Mountain, let alone Shin Chong. No buts. I saw the cause and effect very clearly. But since you've worked for the 8 Immortals Mountain for so many years, I'll give your brother a chance to participate in the entrance examination. Let's see if he can seize it. After giving a slap, she gave a candy. This mysterious Lord Deacon was very good at dealing with people. Sure enough, after hearing this, Shin Chong's face became slightly better. There's still 7 days before the next entrance examination. Take him back and heal his injuries. Here is a good healing pill. It's 10 times better than the Shen family's. I guarantee that he'll recover in a day. After saying this, the mysterious woman gave Shin Chong another pill. Thank you, Lord Deacon. After sending my brother back to the Shen family, I'll immediately return to the 8 Immortals Mountain. Shen Chong finally endured it. In any case, there would be plenty of opportunities to take revenge on Ling Xiao in the future. There was no need for him to confront this deacon today. For him, there was no benefit. Yes, take this. Only with this invitation will you be qualified to participate in the test. The mysterious woman then gave Shen Chong a red invitation letter. On it were the words 8 Immortals Mountain written in gold. These 3 words looked simple, but in reality, they were placed with restrictions. It was simply impossible for ordinary people to imitate them. Kid, you take it too. I have high hopes for you. After giving the invitation letter to Shin Chong, the mysterious woman gave Ling Xiao another invitation letter and said with great importance, "Brother Ling Xiao, you're the best." "I have one too." Ling Xiao was taken aback, but he quickly took the invitation. His purpose for coming to the 8 Immortal City was to join the 8 Immortals Mountain. Now that he had such a good opportunity, How could he miss it? Thank you, Lord Deacon. Ling Xiao hurriedly said. You're welcome. I've given you the opportunity to take the test. Whether you can enter the 8 Immortals Mountain still depends on your ability. Your talent is good, and your ability is good. But don't be arrogant. When you enter the 8 Immortals Mountain, you will know that you may just be a very ordinary person. There are many warriors who have entered the reincarnation cycle. The mysterious woman smiled, then turned and left. Xin Chong also glared at Ling Xiao fiercely and thought, well, when you join the 8 Immortals Mountain, I will have plenty of opportunities to deal with you. Then he also left with his brother, Xin Shi. The departure of Xin Shi, Xin Chong, and the mysterious woman made the originally noisy road become much quieter. Ling Xiao ignored the comments of others and sped up into the 8 Immortals City. Then he settled down in the 8 Immortals Restaurant. Anyway, the test would be held in the 8 Immortals Restaurant. If he stayed here, he would not miss the time. After staying in the restaurant, he thought about how to spend the next few days. There were still 7 days before the test. He could not waste it. Naturally, increasing his cultivation was the most urgent. For others, the half-step yin-yang realm was divided into 10 levels of strength. Only when one reached the 10th level of strength could they break through to the yin-yang realm. For the reincarnation realm warriors, the half-step yin-yang realm was divided into 4 stages: elementary strength, intermediate strength, advanced strength, and peak strength. It was less than ordinary warriors. These 4 stages were equivalent to the 3rd level of strength, the 6th level of strength, the 9th level of strength, and the 10th level of strength for ordinary martial artists. Although Ling Xiao won against Xin Shi today, it was because Xin Shi was inexperienced. If it was a warrior with enough experience and cultivation comparable to Xin Shi, Ling Xiao would not have one so easily. Therefore, he had to increase his cultivation. Only by increasing his cultivation could he have a greater advantage. Thinking of this, he suddenly took out a round jade bracelet and pondered it. He obtained this jade bracelet after killing Mo Fingzi in the Feather Mountain Range. Previously, he casually threw it into the storage ring and did not pay much attention to it. However, when he calmed down later, he noticed that there was something strange about this jade bracelet. It always released a faintly discernible aura. Since he had nothing to do today, he took it out to have a look. Sure enough, he found that there was a layer of exquisite inscriptions on the jade bracelet. This layer of inscriptions used a special paint and could not be seen at all. Only those who were extremely proficient in formations could faintly sense it. It was definitely not ordinary to make such a mysterious item. This should be an inheritance relic, right? Shen Dian suddenly said, in the Black Tortoise continent, there are many similar items. They could be a sword, a saber, a key, or a jade pendant. However, they have the inheritance martial arts left behind by a dead or powerhouse who left the mystic world. I naturally know about inheritance. When Ling Xiao participated in the White Tiger meet in the White Tiger continent, he had obtained the inheritance of Imperial Heaven Hutu and the inheritance of Killing God by Rin. However, he did not want to expose his identity now, so he could not casually use the inheritance. If he could obtain a new inheritance, it would not only help him improve his cultivation, but also increase his combat strength. That would naturally be of great benefit. One had to know that inheritance was generally very complete, including cultivation techniques, martial techniques, movement techniques, and so on. Although every inheritance was not the same, with some containing more information and some containing less, it was definitely more complete than a martial technique. Mo Fingzi was an inner sect disciple of the Demon Shadow sect. It was unknown where he had obtained this jade bracelet, but it was unlikely that he could understand the mystery within. This was because Mo Fingzi did not understand formations. However, Ling Xiao was different. Master, what should I do to make this invisible inscription visible? Although Ling Xiao was an array formation genius, he was still young and did not know everything. Therefore, he still had to ask his master, Yuan Venerate, some questions. Chapter 2176. Ling Xiao frowned and asked, Master, is there something wrong with your situation? It's nothing. It's just that it's very tiring to maintain this kind of spiritual perception for a long time. If you have the time, help me get some soul-strengthening herbs and refine them into elixirs. That way, I can help you more in the future. The Yuan Venerate sighed. What are you saying, Master? If you hadn't taught me alchemy and array formation techniques, how could I, Ling Xiao, be where I am today? Ling Xiao said solemnly, I didn't know that Master needed these in the past, so I neglected them. However, from today onwards, I will try my best to find these herbs for you. In any case, I have the top VIP card of the Sky Dragon trading firm, so everything I buy is very cheap. Then I'll have to trouble you. Let's talk about the invisible inscriptions. Actually, it's easy to crack them. Try to fuse your soul power with the aura of the jade bracelet. When your soul power can do this, you will be able to see the inscriptions on it clearly. The Yuan Venerate seemed very tired after speaking and went back to sleep. Thank you, Master. Ling Xiao excitedly followed the Yuan Venerate's instructions. The operation wasn't difficult for him at all. In just a few minutes, his soul power had completely fused with the aura of the jade bracelet. As for the inscriptions that were originally invisible, they were all exposed. I see. Ling Xiao understood. There was indeed something sealed on the jade bracelet. It seemed to be a wisp of spirit consciousness. After considering that the effects of activating this array formation might be greater, Ling Xiao left the restaurant and flew all the way to the wilderness outside the city. He even set up an array formation to shield his aura. Only then did he dare to crack the array formation. Cracking the array formation wasn't difficult for Ling Xiao, but the scene after cracking it was a little frightening. In an instant, an astonishing amount of energy was released from the jade bracelet, causing the ground within a 100-mile radius to shake and the mountains to collapse. The commotion was so great that it was completely beyond Ling Xiao's expectations. He had no choice but to move away for fear of being discovered. Fortunately, the jade bracelet's terrifying energy was only released once. When he came to an even more secretive place, the jade bracelet suddenly became huge and fell to the ground. In an area with a diameter of about 10 meters, the soil rolled and condensed into a huge monster. Because its form wasn't stable enough, Ling Xiao couldn't tell what it was. However, there was a frightening aura coming from this thing. Then the monster spoke. In the unseen world, there is a predestined marriage. You have obtained my inheritance. Dragons and worms all have their own desires. Take care of yourselves. This voice was illusory, as if it came from all directions and entered Ling Xiao's ears. After saying that, the huge monster turned back into a clump of dirt and disappeared. The jade bracelet also returned to its original size and fell into Ling Xiao's hand. In that instant, a vast amount of memories poured into Ling Xiao's mind from the jade bracelet. It was long and complicated, densely packed. If this was the first time he encountered such a situation, Ling Xiao would be shocked and at a loss. However, after absorbing the inheritance at the White Tiger store meet, he was already used to such things. The memories were very clear. Although they came from the jade bracelet, they were completely merged with his own memories. There was only the inheritance in this memory, and nothing else. It was very pure. It seemed that the person who left this jade bracelet didn't die. He was just worried that he would die, so he integrated everything he learned into this jade bracelet. It was a pity that, like most inheritances, the activation of each memory required a corresponding strength as a condition. Ling Xiao's current cultivation was only at the peak of the Grotto Heaven realm, so he couldn't activate much of the inheritance memories. Whether it was cultivation methods or martial skills, they were all below mid-tier jade grade. However, mid-tier jade grade martial arts were already very satisfactory to Ling Xiao, because mid-tier jade grade martial arts were most suitable for yin-yang realm martial artists. It was more than enough for overused martial arts. The owner of this jade bracelet was proficient in many mid-tier jade grade martial arts, but they all seemed to be related to the earth of the 5 elements. After careful analysis, Ling Xiao finally chose a set of martial arts that was most suitable for him and satisfied him the most. It was a set of sword skills, Meteor Sword Art. Meteor Sword Art was the continuation of Meteor Sword Art. It was a higher level sword art. Not only were the moves more profound, but it was also more powerful. Heavy like a meteor, fast like lightning, and powerful enough to split the earth. Meteor Sword Art's damage wasn't caused by its sharpness, which was different from most sword arts. The best weapon for this sword art was a heavy sword without an edge. Heavy Sword Essence. Fast Sword Essence. Destruction Sword Essence. A sword art that contained 3 levels of sword essence was rare. Ling Xiao couldn't help but be delighted. The owner of this inheritance had far more martial arts than this. This Meteor Sword Art could only be considered to be used when he was in the Grotto Heaven realm and Yin Yang realm. And this person's cultivation was clearly higher than this. He was really lucky to have obtained such a good inheritance from a disciple of the Phantom Sect. If word got out, many people would be jealous. Inheritance relics were generally related to legacy sites. This jade bracelet might have clues to open the legacy site. However, Ling Xiao didn't plan to look for it now. With his current cultivation, even if he found it, he wouldn't be able to use it. He might even end up working for someone else. It was better to obediently restore his cultivation to the rebirth realm first. With this set of Meteor Sword Art, he should be able to raise his cultivation by a large margin in the next 7 days. There were many ways to raise one's cultivation in the mystic world. This had been mentioned before. The fastest way was to impart cultivation. The second was to cultivate an internal cultivation method. Lastly, there was also the cultivation of martial skills. The higher the level of martial skills, the higher the level of martial skills. Although Ling Xiao looked very calm on the surface, whether it was the Phantom Sect or the Shen family, they were like stones in his heart. He wanted to ensure that Yuhua Town was in his hands and that Ling Jiao, Ling Yan, and the others would be fine. Thus, he had to raise his strength as soon as possible. It was probably unrealistic to rely on the protection of the 8 Immortal Mountain. The 8 Immortal Mountain wouldn't make an enemy of a sect or a family for an ordinary disciple. And the sense of urgency was definitely not limited to this. The Moon Lady's life might not be in danger when she reincarnated into the Eternal Life Palace, but it involved her next reincarnation. He had to find her as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if there were any changes. And the Eternal Life Palace was the strongest force in the Black Tortoise Continent. If Ling Xiao wanted to step into that place, his cultivation would have to at least reach the rebirth realm. Thus, it was urgent to raise his cultivation and strength. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao no longer hesitated. Chapter 2177. This was also a corner of the western mountain range. There were many demonic beasts here for Ling Xiao to practice his skills. Ling Xiao had the Tai Chi Eye and the Sky Tyrant martial soul, so it was easy for him to practice any martial skill. As long as he reached the entry level, his cultivation speed would be extremely fast. Moreover, Ling Xiao had practiced more than one Jade grade martial skill before. It could be said that practice makes perfect. The first day, Meteor Sword Art entry level. The second day, Meteor Sword Art entry level. The third day, Meteor Sword Art entry level. The fourth day, Ling Xiao finally achieved a breakthrough in his cultivation. Because of the large number of demonic beasts he killed, he gained a lot of experience and the effects of the Meteor Sword Art. He broke through to the initial half-step Yin Yang realm. However, this was only the beginning. He was not satisfied. The fifth day, Ling Xiao's Meteor Sword Art entry level finally reached the Greater Mastery realm. On the sixth day, his Meteor Sword Art had reached perfection. On the last day, Ling Xiao used the Meteor Sword Art to kill a half-step Yin Yang realm level 8 demonic beast and took its crystal core. He returned to the 8 Immortal City. At this moment, his cultivation had reached the peak of the initial strength stage. He could break through to the intermediate strength stage at any time. However, the demonic beasts nearby did not dare to appear after being killed by him. In addition, the time was up. He had no choice but to return to the 8 Immortal City. The last time he stepped into the 8 Immortal City, he did not have time to carefully observe the scale of the city because he had something on his mind. Looking at it now, he was extremely surprised. Ascension Town only had a population of 200,000. However, the 8 Immortal City had a population of more than 10 million. This was engraved on the huge stone tablet at the entrance of the city. Although there might be some discrepancies, it should not be a problem for the 8 Immortal City to have a population of more than 10 million. Moreover, there were auras of yin-yang realm martial artists everywhere in the city. If it was an ordinary Grotto Heaven realm martial artist, he would probably feel very uncomfortable in such an environment. Only Ling Xiao, a martial artist who had entered the reincarnation realm and the Heavenly Emperor of the Heavenly Empire, could remain calm in such an environment. When Ling Xiao arrived at the 8 Immortals building, he found a person sitting by the window on the 2nd floor. It was Shen Shi, who was almost killed by him 7 days ago. What was interesting was that Shen Shi's aura was much stronger than it was 7 days ago. His current cultivation had already reached half-step yin-yang realm level 6. Have you broken through? As expected of a great family, not only did they allow this fellow to fully recover from his injuries, they even allowed him to break through in his cultivation. I reckon that the martial technique he used earlier should have also broken through. Ling Xiao glanced at Shen Shi and couldn't help sneering inwardly. This brat better not provoke me. I can forget about the matter of that day, but if he dares to find trouble with me again, I will definitely kill him. Thinking of this, he stepped into the 8 Immortals restaurant. After washing up, Ling Xiao found a private room and began to drink, waiting for the assessment of the 8 Immortals mountain to begin. The private room he chose was right next to Shen Shi's. He just wanted to hear what Shen Shi had to say. After all, the disciples of great families were the most well-informed. Moreover, Shen Shi's brother, Shin Chong, was a disciple of the 8 Immortals mountain, so he probably knew more. Young master, you are bound to have good fortune after surviving a great disaster. Originally, you were unable to break through, but after being severely injured and receiving the spiritual medicine from the deacon of the 8 Immortals mountain, you actually broke through. Even your mid-tier jade grade martial technique, Eagle Storm, has broken through to the profound realm. If you meet Ling Xiao now, let him die. The one who spoke should be one of Shen Shi's lackeys. Pa! The cup seemed to have been smashed into pieces, and then Shen Shi's voice was heard. That Ling Xiao's death is not to be regretted, but I still need to join the 8 Immortals mountain as soon as possible. My brother, Shin Chong, is not as talented as me, but his cultivation has reached the early stage of the first level of hell of yin-yang realm, while I am still at half-step yin-yang realm. The resources of the 8 Immortals mountain are too powerful, and it is not something our 3 great clans can compare to. Young master, don't worry. You will definitely be able to join the 8 Immortals mountain. With your talent, isn't it easy? I see that after you join the 8 Immortals mountain, you will break through to the yin-yang realm in less than a year. At that time, you can ask the deacon of Lin Ruoxian for her hand in marriage, and she will probably agree. The lackeys were indeed good at flattery, and they knew how to pick the right words to say. Ha ha ha, you are right. It will definitely be easy. That girl, Lin Ruoxian, actually stopped my brother from killing that brat last time. After I marry her, I will teach her how to be a woman, he. Shen Shi's laughter suddenly became vulgar. You are indeed a scumbag. That Lin Ruoxian is my benefactor. Fine, during the assessment, I will let you, this scumbag, suffer a little and then obediently go back to your Shin family. Hearing this, Ling Xiao muttered to himself. He did not know the Lin Ruoxian, but she had helped him block Shin Chong's attack. Although if he had used the Infernal Dragon Seal, Shen Chong might not have been his match. But if that happened, he would probably be seriously injured and could not even deal with the lackeys of the Shin family. Therefore, Lin Ruoxian had saved his life. How could he tolerate Shin Shi's slander? During the assessment, he would most likely meet Shin Shi. As long as he made some moves, Shin Shi would be eliminated. Wouldn't that be easy? You want to enter the 8 Immortals Mountain? No way. Who asked a bastard like you to offend me and even insult my benefactor? Shin Shi, who was next door, did not know Ling Zhao's plan. He was still talking excitedly. The 8 Immortals Mountain is divided into the upper 8 Immortals and the lower 8 Immortals. In this test, I only entered the lower 8 Immortals. Only if I make a name for myself in the 8 Immortals mountain range of the 8 Immortals can I enter the 8 Immortals mountain range as a disciple. With this young master's talent, I should be able to enter the 8 Immortals mountain range directly. Of course, young master, your talent is extraordinary and outstanding. It's a rare occurrence in 100 years. There are about 100 people in each assessment of the 8 Immortals Mountain, although only the top 8 can enter the 8 Immortals Mountain. But you will definitely be chosen. Hearing this, Ling Xiao could not help but laugh. Only 8 out of 100 people were chosen. This probability was quite low, but it was not much. There were so many geniuses in the white tiger meat. Didn't he also get first place? If he could not get first place in the 8 Immortals Mountains entrance examination, then he would lose all face as the Celestial Emperor. How would he tell his good brothers in the future? In his life, Ling Xiao only wanted first place. He did not care about second place. Just as he was thinking, a voice suddenly sounded from the 8 Immortals restaurant. Those who are participating in the 8 Immortals Mountains entrance examination can gather downstairs. Hearing this voice, Ling Xiao put down his chopsticks and stood up. Although he had reincarnated once, he was only 18 years old before reincarnating. Chapter 2178. When he went out, Ling Xiao and Shen Shi happened to bump into each other. Ling Xiao revealed a smile and turned to go downstairs. He did not intend to argue with him here. After all, the entrance examination was the most important. However, Shen Shi was different. He was so angry that he flew into a rage. Good boy, he actually dared to appear in the 8 Immortal City. I will remember today's account. After joining the 8 Immortals Mountain, he will naturally suffer. Shen Shi was not stupid. He knew the consequences of making trouble now, so he forcibly suppressed his anger. There were exactly 120 people gathered below the 8 Immortals Mountain. Among these people, 8 people would be selected to join the 8 Immortals Mountain and become the disciples of the 8 Immortals Mountain. Ling Xiao roughly looked at these young warriors. These young warriors were the geniuses of the towns under the 8 Immortal City, and the geniuses of the 3 big families of the 8 Immortal City. Their cultivation was not weak. It seemed that without going through a tough elimination, it would be impossible to pick out the 8 people. Just as he was thinking, Shin Chong appeared. All of you, follow me. Shin Chong did not greet Shin Shi. He just looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. During this time, he wanted to find someone to take revenge on Ling Xiao, who knew that Ling Xiao would not appear in the 8 Immortal City for 7 days. Helpless, this revenge could only be postponed until after the assessment. Whether Ling Xiao could join the 8 Immortals Mountain or not, he had already decided to tear this boy into pieces, not only to avenge his brother, but also for the face of the Shen family. The dignified Shen family's disciples were humiliated by a remote town warrior and did not dare to take revenge. They would not be able to raise their heads in the future. Along the way, Shen Chong walked faster and faster. The 120 people behind him could also follow closely. It could be seen that each of the 120 people selected this time had good aptitude. Even if Shin Chong deliberately kept a distance from them, he did not succeed. Of course, this was because Shin Chong held back. Otherwise, if he ran with all his strength, there would not be more than 30 people who could keep up with him. After about a quarter of an hour, everyone arrived at the East Pass. Ling Xiao was all too familiar with this place. When he came here, he had passed by this place. The 8 passes in the 8 Immortals County are managed by the 8 Immortals at the foot of the 8 Immortals Mountain. The East Pass is usually used to select disciples. Shen Chong introduced indifferently. Each pass has an exclusive transmission array that leads to the foot of the 8 Immortals Mountain. If you can pass the test, then you are qualified to step into the 8 Immortals Mountain. Although there are not as many people as the 8 Immortals County, the spirit chi there is very abundant, which is very helpful for your cultivation. Interesting. Looks like my choice wasn't wrong. Changing to a better place will be of great benefit to my cultivation recovery. When Ling Xiao heard Xinchang's words, he could not help secretly nodding. To him, this test was not easy, because he found that among the 120 people, 5 of them were Samsara realm warriors. Including him, there were 6 of them. Under normal circumstances, the strength of a Samsara martial artist was much stronger than an ordinary martial artist of the same level. These 5 people would definitely become his competitors. It seems that my fighting spirit will not be so easily worn down. Even if I enter the Samsara, there will be opponents. Ling Xiao was originally very worried that he would gradually lose his fighting spirit due to the lack of opponents for a long time. That would be extremely detrimental to his development. However, judging from the current situation, his worries were clearly unnecessary. Those who chose to enter the Samsara were basically geniuses. He had many opponents. Moreover, even among ordinary martial artists, there were also very outstanding existences who absolutely could not be underestimated. "Are you afraid, boy?" Xin Chong appeared beside Ling Xiao and said in a cold tone, "If you are afraid, then get out of here. The 8 Immortals Mountain does not need a waste like you." "Afraid? If I'm afraid, then your brother, Xin Shi, should hide in his turtle shell and not come out." Ling Xiao looked at Xin Chong contemptuously and said, "You're just a small errand boy in the 8 Immortals Mountain. Do you really think you're that important? Just do your job well and don't look for trouble. Otherwise, I'll make you and your brother look bad. You are courting death." Shen Chong thought that his threat would make Ling Xiao choose to leave. Then it would be easier for him to take action. But he did not expect Ling Xiao's temper to be even worse than his. He was a Yin-Yang Realm Level 1 martial artist, but he could not scare this young man. "Courting death? That's what your brother said. I have an invitation. Do you dare to kill me?" Ling Xiao looked at Xin Chong contemptuously and asked. Xin Chong was stunned for a moment, but he did not dare to take action. It was not worth it to destroy his future just to take revenge on a waste. If you don't dare to take action, then don't stand there like a pillar blocking the way. The test should start soon, right? Good. Very good. You better remember this. Not to mention that you won't be able to join the 8 Immortals Mountain this time. Even if you do, I will not let you have a good life. Shen Chong angrily threw down a sentence and went to do his own thing. In the end, he was just someone's errand boy. He did not have any authority. "Brother, you are amazing. You dare to go against Xin Chong. You are awesome. I am a direct descendant of the 8 Immortals Counties, Zhou clan. My name is Zhou Yan." Just as Ling Xiao was waiting for the test to start, a young man in luxurious clothes walked to his side and gave him a thumbs up. Ling Xiao, Ascension Town's Ling clan's disciple. Ling Xiao looked at Zhou Yan indifferently and answered casually. He did not want to speak, but out of politeness he gave a simple reply. This Zhou Yan was actually a descendant of the Zhou clan, one of the 3 major clans. His strength was not bad, but he was not qualified to be his opponent. "Oh, you are from Ascension Town." When Zhou Yan heard this, a trace of disdain appeared between his brows. But soon, this trace of disdain was cleverly concealed by him. He still looked very enthusiastic and said with a smile, "The genius of Ascension Town is also not bad. How is your cultivation now?" 10th Grotto Heaven Realm. Ling Xiao said indifferently. 10th Grotto Heaven Realm? Are you kidding me? You dare to participate in the test with this kind of cultivation? Do you want to die? Zhou Yan's tone was obviously lecturing, as if he was very great. Why do you say that? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. Ling Xiao, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The entrance test of the Eight Immortals Mountain is a test that will cost you your life. With your current cultivation, not only is it impossible to pass the test, but you will also lose your life in the end. Listen to my advice. Why don't you just follow me? I guarantee that you will eat well and no one will dare to bully you. Even the Shen clan would not dare to bully you. Zhou Yan said solemnly. After talking for so long, this Zhou Yan actually wanted to take Ling Xiao as his follower. Chapter 2179. No need. I'm used to being alone. What's more, young Master Zhou is a descendant of an aristocratic family. I'm just a country bumpkin. How can I be your friend? Ling Xiao felt that this Zhou Yan was really annoying. He didn't like this kind of person. However, Zhou Yan didn't do anything to him, so he just refused and didn't make a move. You're really unteachable. Zhou Yan's voice became more severe. You haven't been to the Eight Immortal City before. You should know that there are only 100 people who participate in the entrance examination of the Eight Immortals Mountain every year. In the end, only 70% of them survive. Only 20% of them are uninjured. With your cultivation, you probably won't survive. Even if God is kind and lets you live, you'll probably be seriously injured, which will be very detrimental to your future cultivation. Thank you for your concern, young Master Zhou. Everyone has their own choice. What's more, I'm shouldering the hope of my entire family. How can I back down so easily? Ling Xiao didn't get angry. He just smiled faintly. He felt that it was a little degrading to be angry with such an idiot. If it was before he reincarnated, he would have kicked this guy away. But now, it didn't matter what this guy had to say. Anyway, he didn't know much about the Eight Immortal City. Although this Zhou Yan was really an idiot, he was still a descendant of the Zhou family. He probably knew a lot of things. Then, you'll regret it. Zhou Yan sneered and said, I've seen too many small-town geniuses like you. Maybe in your small town, you're a genius or even a peerless master. But in the Eight Immortal City, you're nothing. There was a genius like you who didn't listen to my advice and insisted on participating in the Tianfeng group's entrance examination. In the end, he died. Tianfeng group? What's that? Ling Xiao asked doubtfully. You don't even know about the Tianfeng group? The Tianfeng group is the only force in the Eight Immortal City that is qualified to compete with the Eight Immortals Mountain. It's just that the Tianfeng group belongs to the Qin country. It's an official force. So, as long as you join the Tianfeng group, you have to work for the Qin country. So, those who don't want to be bound will usually choose the Eight Immortals Mountain. Zhou Yan explained proudly. So, I didn't expect it. Ling Xiao was a little surprised. He thought that the Eight Immortals County only had the Eight Immortals Mountain. He didn't expect that there would be a similar force like the Heavenly Wind Group. If the Chun State's imperial court wanted to control the county capital, they had to restrict the forces of the pugilistic world. If the Eight Immortals Mountain was too powerful, then the control of the imperial court would be further weakened. Now that they had the Heavenly Wind Group, they could compete with the Eight Immortals Mountain and not let the Eight Immortals mount to monopolize the resources of the Eight Immortals County. Young man, be smart. There is no harm in following me. I will introduce you to the Zhou family. Take your time. It won't be too late to participate in the assessment of the Eight Immortals Mountain when your cultivation has improved. This way, even if these geniuses entered the Eight Immortals Mountain in the second year, they would still be from the Zhou family. Zhou Yan wanted to recruit talents for the Zhou family. Zhou Yan seemed to be an idiot, but he was not stupid. He was a very smart guy. At least, he was smarter than Xin Shi. Xin Shi was an idiot. He offended an enemy he didn't know for a sword. Was he not afraid that the other party would bring disaster to the Shen family? By the way, young Master Zhou, I heard that there is a sect called Devil's Shadow Sect in the Eight Immortals County. Do you know about it? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. In his opinion, since Zhou Yan knew so much about the Eight Immortals County, it was impossible for him not to know about the Devil's Shadow Sect. What's more, although the Devil's Shadow Sect was not as powerful as the Eight Immortals Mountain, it was on the same level as the three great families. But he was wrong. After hearing his question, Zhou Yan thought for a while, but shook his head and said, Devil's Shadow Sect? Why haven't I heard of it? Is it on the same level as the three great families? Is there such a force? Is the legend wrong? Ling Xiao said with a frown. Aya, why are you thinking so much? Let me tell you, in the entire Eight Immortals County, you only need to pay attention to the Eight Immortals Mountain, the Heavenly Wind Group, the Heavenly Dragon Trading Company, and the three great families. You don't need to care about anything else. This Devil's Shadow Sect is a small force in some corner. They boast about it everywhere, making small-town cultivators think that it is very powerful. In fact, you don't need to care about it at all. Zhou Yan waved his hand and said with disdain, No, that's not right. Hearing Zhou Yan's words, Ling Xiao was not relieved. Instead, he became even more nervous. The Devil's Shadow Sect's inner sect disciple, Mo Fengzi, had reached the peak of the first level of the Yin-Yang realm. Even in the Eight Immortals Mountain, he should be considered a disciple of the Eight Immortals. More importantly, the jade bracelet in Mo Fengzi's hand was so special. It was definitely not something a small sect could have. Then there were only two possibilities. One was that the Devil's Shadow Sect had just risen, so it was more famous in the small town, but not in the big city. The other possibility was terrifying. Perhaps the Devil's Shadow Sect was the most terrifying force in the Eight Immortal City. They were pretending to be weak so that they could eat tigers in the future. Perhaps the Eight Immortals Mountain and the Heavenly Wind Group were also in their sights. If that was the case, Ling Xiao had to be very careful. It was not that he had never heard of such a force. It had to be known that the new true demon empire was just an unknown small sect in the Heavenly Dragon continent. Who would take it seriously? However, this unknown small sect, after many years of operation and infiltration, had infiltrated almost all the large and small sects in the Heavenly Dragon continent. In the final battle, they destroyed the holy city of the Sacred Dynasty and occupied the Heavenly Dragon continent. If not for Ling Xiao bringing people back and overthrowing the new true demon empire, the Heavenly Dragon continent would still be the territory of the new true demon empire. The more mysterious a sect was, the more careful he had to be. It seemed that if he had the chance, he would have to investigate this Devil's Shadow Sect. As for the Heavenly Dragon Trading Company, it was the force he was most familiar with. Since he had the highest VIP card, he would definitely be given special treatment in the Heavenly Dragon Trading Company. Of course, he did not want to use this privilege at the moment. This was because the VIP card was linked to the cultivator's information. Once he used his VIP card, his identity would naturally be exposed. In the Black Tortoise continent, there were many people who wanted him dead, especially the 5 major forces of the Western region. Any one of them could easily kill him. Chapter 2180. When Zhou Chao saw that Ling Xiao was so stubborn, he could not be bothered with him. He could not wait for Ling Xiao to suffer a little in the upcoming assessment. That way, he would have a chance to rope Ling Xiao in. Stop talking. Do you see this teleportation portal? Suddenly, a voice rang out, causing the originally noisy crowd to instantly quiet down. Everyone looked at the blood-red teleportation portal that Shen Chong was pointing at. It looked like a temporary teleportation portal, but they did not know where it led to. Standing beside Shin Chong was a cultivator of similar age, but his cultivation was much stronger than Shin Chong's. He and Shin Chong were probably in charge of this assessment. The deacon, Lin Ruoxian, did not appear. However, Ling Xiao believed that she must be watching this assessment from somewhere. After all, this was the 8 Immortal Mountains entrance assessment. The level of the disciples was related to the future development of the Eight Immortal Mountain. It was impossible for the Eight Immortal Mountain to ignore this. What's behind the teleportation portal? Someone could not help but ask. Good question. This blood-red teleportation portal leads to a bandit's lair. Although most of the Eight Immortal City is very peaceful, there are many mountain bandits because there are many barren mountains and ridges. These mountain bandits are not ordinary people. They are powerful cultivators like you and me. Moreover, they have been through hundreds of battles and kill without batting an eye. They are extremely ferocious. The place you will be teleported to is the Bloody Cave Stronghold. The first head of the Bloody Cave Stronghold has reached the half-step Yin-Yang Realm Level 8. The second head is slightly weaker, only at the 6th level. In the Stronghold, the weakest person is at the 7th Grotto Heaven Realm. They have a total of 1,368 people. What you need to do is to eliminate this group of mountain bandits. As soon as he said that, many of the 120 contestants sucked in a breath of cold air. Clearly, they were a little scared. If you're afraid, then scram. Otherwise, the Eight Immortal Mountain will not be responsible for your death. Shin Chong snorted and said, for example, a kid from a remote town. It was not easy for your mother to give birth to you. Don't treat your life as a joke. If you really die, there won't be a second chance. Ling Xiao knew that Shin Chong was mocking him. However, he was disdainful. Killing bandits was nothing. When he, Ling Xiao, had single-handedly killed an army of hundreds of thousands, this Shin Chong was still crying somewhere. I give up. I give up too. Before the test even began, there were already 30 people who had given up. The original 120 people had been reduced to 90 in an instant. A bunch of trash. Cowards. You'll never be able to achieve anything great in martial arts. The one who spoke was another young martial artist standing beside Shin Chong. The remaining people aren't going to give up, right? Very good. You're all very good. Now, let's enter the teleportation array. There was still half an hour left before the teleportation array would be activated. In this half an hour, you have to kill as many bandits as possible. The bandits of the Bloody Cave Stronghold all cultivated a type of evil martial art. Their bodies would condense a black devil seed. Kill them and take out their demonic seeds. Each demonic seed would be worth 1 point. If someone could kill the first boss, it would be worth 100 points. If the second boss was killed, it would be worth 50 points. Do you understand? At this time, Zhou Yan came to Ling Xiao's side and said in a low voice, Kid, did you hear that clearly? We're here to kill real bandits, not demonic beasts or puppets. If you're not careful, you might even lose your life. Hurry up and give up. Otherwise, you won't have a chance to regret it. I'm not giving up. Ling Xiao just shook his head lightly. He was too lazy to explain too much. If you're not willing to give up, then team up with me. I can guarantee that you won't be killed, but you have to give me all the demonic seeds you get. Zhou Yan finally revealed his foxtail. He was so kind to persuade Ling Xiao, but in the end he just wanted to use Ling Xiao. These martial artists from the big clans probably didn't treat the small town's martial artists as humans. They treated them as tools that could be used and discarded at any time. Get lost. If you say any more nonsense, I'll kill you. If it was something else, Ling Xiao wouldn't have cared. He would have pretended not to hear it. However, Zhou Yan's words already made him want to kill. What did you say? Zhou Yan acted as if he didn't hear Ling Xiao's words clearly and asked again. I told you to get lost. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Ling Xiao looked coldly at Zhou Yan. Although he didn't release any killing intent, the coldness in his eyes still made Zhou Yan mistakenly think that he was confronting a terrifying beast. Good boy. You're really a dog biting Lu Renxian. You don't know how to appreciate my kindness. I helped you with good intentions, and you actually said that. I hope you don't get left alone later. Otherwise, you'll be very miserable. With a cold snort, Zhou Yan turned and left. Looking at Zhou Yan's back, Ling Xiao smiled coldly. You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, I'll kill you too. What bullshit, Shin clan and Zhou clan. Do you really think I'm afraid? Hee, you're really a troublemaker. The matter between us hasn't been resolved yet, and you actually dare to provoke Zhou Yan. Suddenly, a mocking voice sounded in Ling Xiao's ears. Ling Xiao didn't need to look to know that it was Shin Shi's voice. Wasn't the lesson last time enough? Do you want me to kill you before you know how to be afraid? Ling Xiao said coldly. Boy, don't be so arrogant. There aren't many tests in this 8 immortal mountain. There are only 2 tests. If you're lucky enough to pass the first test, then I'll kill you in the second test. Shin Shi gritted his teeth and said, Then you'd better be careful. Don't lose your life in the first test. Ling Xiao glanced at Shin Shi indifferently. He had already thought about it. The first test was the most suitable for killing. If Shin Shi really didn't know what was good for him, then he didn't mind killing him in the first test. Anyway, the rules said that life and death were up to fate. Whether it was Shin Shi, Zhou Yan, or even other competitors, they would probably try their best to eliminate others. Therefore, this test might actually be more difficult than the second test. The second test was a face-to-face confrontation. There was also a referee present, so it wasn't good to play tricks. But in the first test, a lot of shady means could be used. However, this was convenient for others, but for Ling Xiao, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. The first test begin. At this time, Shin Chong issued an order. 90 young martial artists fought to be the first to rush to the transmission array. It seemed that if they went in first, they would be able to get the demon seed first. But they really underestimated the bandits of the Bloody Cave stronghold. They weren't puppets, nor were they monsters. They were ferocious and cunning bandits. Ling Xiao waited for the 89 people in front of him to go in, but he still didn't move, as if he was waiting for something. Boy, now that you're afraid, there's no way to withdraw. Shin Chong said with a sneer, Who told you that I'm afraid? Chapter 2181. Ling Xiao glanced at Shin Chong indifferently and said, If I didn't guess wrongly, among these 90 martial artists participating in the test, there must be a spy from the Bloody Cave stronghold. Are you sure you want to continue this test? Of the 89 people who went in previously, I'm afraid that quite a few have already been killed or injured. What nonsense. If you don't dare to go in, then don't talk nonsense. Shin Chong glanced at Ling Xiao disdainfully, his eyes revealing contempt and impatience. The other martial artist who was with Shin Chong also just looked at him indifferently, seemingly not believing what he said at all. Fine, if you don't believe, then don't believe. Anyway, it has nothing to do with me. Ling Xiao laughed coldly and lifted his foot to step into that blood-red teleportation array. Huff! Just as he entered, a bone-piercing cold wind assaulted him. Ling Xiao could not help being stunned for a moment. Looking around, only then did he realize that this place was actually covered in thick snow everywhere. The Bloody Cave stronghold actually made their nest in this kind of place. They really knew how to choose. The cold wind was bone-piercing. The snowflakes were swept up, filling the sky with snow white. However, some of the dark red in between appeared so dazzling. Ling Xiao frowned and quietly hid his body in the darkness, leaving only a faint layer of shadow. Anyway, this place could not be monitored even if the 8 immortal mountain wanted to. Therefore, even if he used the shadow step, it would not matter. At the same time, he also equipped himself with the shadow armor. Not only could it increase the stealth effect of the shadow step, but it could also increase defense. He saw very clearly that the dark red just now was human blood. But the strange thing was that there were no corpses. There were only blood drops scattered on the snow. Ling Xiao carefully observed for a moment. Indeed, a massacre had just unfolded here, and the scene was very tragic. He estimated that as many as 4 or 5 examinees were killed. It seemed that the strength of this batch of examinees was still very strong. They clearly fell into the bloody cave stronghold's trap and could actually still escape. And what a strong smell of blood! Ling Xiao walked forward for a distance. The bone-piercing cold was also unable to bring him the slightest bit of harm. Just the shadow armor alone could dispel a large amount of cold for him. Adding on the protection of essence power, it was basically impossible for him to be frozen. If an ordinary half-step yin-yang realm martial artist came here, they would have to constantly expend their internal energy to expel the cold qi. The Blood Cave stronghold had chosen this place for their base because they had considered this aspect. He suddenly sped up and rushed in the direction of the smell of blood. After about 500 meters, Ling Xiao suddenly stopped. He didn't expect that there would be hunters living in the wilderness. There were a few thatched cottages in the dense forest. At that moment, however, there were no signs of life within the thatched cottage. Over 10 corpses were strewn on the ground. Surprisingly, some of them were the examiners that Ling Xiao had seen before. The way they died was extremely strange. All the blood in their bodies had been sucked dry, and their bodies had turned into shriveled, old, bark-like things. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eye, which allowed him to identify the corpses, he probably wouldn't have been able to tell that some of the corpses belonged to the examiners. Every one of their expressions was extremely terrifying. All of them had their eyes and mouths wide open, as if they had seen something extremely horrifying. Was it done by the Blood Cave stronghold? Ling Xiao couldn't help but gasp. Such cruel bandits were actually used as an entry test. This 8 Immortal Mountain was really not easy to enter. He squatted on the ground and carefully examined the footprints on the snow. It was obvious that the martial artists who killed these people had good movement techniques. They could simply walk on the snow without leaving a trace. However, during the flight, they still needed to take a breath, so there would be footprints after about 50 meters. There are quite a lot of people. They might be from the Blood Cave stronghold. I wonder where the other examiners went. Forget it, I can't care so much. Even if it's not an assessment, there's nothing wrong with killing these evil bandits. Although Ling Xiao wasn't a good person, he still had some thoughts of getting rid of evil for the people. Anyway, it was just along the way and wouldn't take up too much time. According to his judgment, this group of people shouldn't have left for long. After all, the 8 Immortal Mountains assessment had just begun. If there were examiners killed here, it definitely wouldn't have been long. Ling Xiao broke through the air and flew in the direction of the footprints. After flying for a short while, a fortress-like city appeared in front of him. Blood Cave Stronghold. Ling Xiao looked at the 3 blood-red words above the city gate tower. Naturally, he knew it very well. This Blood Cave Stronghold was built on the mountain. There should have been buildings originally, but the bandits of the Blood Cave Stronghold had added on later. There seemed to be only one way to go from the bottom of the mountain to the top. Ah! Suddenly, there was a scream in front of him. Ling Xiao saw a blood-red figure suddenly fly out from the thick snow and grab the examiner who had followed him. In just an instant, the examiner died, and his blood was quickly sucked into the body of the blood-red figure. At this time, Ling Xiao could see the appearance of the bandit clearly. He was wearing a blood-red robe. He had a skull mask on his head. He couldn't see his appearance clearly, but his skills were not bad. Moreover, this was their territory. This allowed them to appear and disappear unpredictably, which was extremely unfavorable to the examiners. Of course, the examiners were not to be trifled with. At this time, there were already people who had killed several bandits and obtained the demonic seeds in their bodies. The demonic seeds were pitch black. Compared to the demonic seeds that Ling Xiao had swallowed before, it was far inferior. However, it should still be beneficial to his cultivation. He didn't know what the 8 Immortal Mountain wanted these things for. Outside the Blood Cave stronghold, almost all the examiners had gathered. However, Shun Shi and Zhou Yan were not among them. It seemed like they were planning to attack. On top of the Blood Cave stronghold city gate, a person wearing a blood-red robe and blood-red armor walked out. Vigorous elemental energy wandered around his body and actually turned into a blood-red mist. He was different from ordinary people. His 2 canine teeth were especially long and actually grew out of his mouth. As long as he ruthlessly bit down, he could bite through the enemy's protective elemental energy and pierce into the enemy's body to suck their blood. This person floated in midair and looked coldly at the 80-odd examiners below. Beside him, over 1,000 bandits appeared. Some were on both sides of the mountain path, while others were on top of the city wall. However, their overall strength was stronger than what the 8 Immortal Mountain had described. The 8 Immortal Mountain's people said that the lowest cultivation of this group of bandits was at the 7th Grotto Heaven realm, while the highest cultivation of the bandit leader was at the 8th level of the half-step Yin-Yang realm. However, the situation now was different. Ling Xiao could clearly see that the lowest cultivation of this group of bandits was at the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. As for the 5th level of the half-step Yin-Yang realm, there were more than 100 of them. The person floating in midair should be the bandit leader. His cultivation was not at the 8th level but the 10th level. He was only one step away from breaking through to the Yin-Yang realm. Chapter 2182. The improvement of the Bloody Cave stronghold's overall strength and their advantage in numbers made this examination a tragedy. This made the examinees gloomy. We're finished. We're too few. We're no match for them. One of the examinees suddenly held his head and screamed. He turned around and ran away. However, after running for dozens of steps, several blood-red figures suddenly jumped out of the snow and killed him on the spot. They carried the body up the city gate tower. The great master grabbed the body, sucked the blood dry, and threw it down the city gate tower. Ha ha ha! The first task of the 8 Immortal Mountain's annual examination is to eliminate the bandits. I knew this day would come, so I was prepared. Although the information the 8 Immortal Mountain got about us is true, it's always lagging behind. This time, they actually sent so many precious supplements. Each of you is a talented young genius. Unfortunately, you're all going to die here today. The great bandit master laughed very proudly. He had made a lot of preparations for this day. Not only did he send spies to the 8 Immortal Mountain, but he also bribed the people of the 8 Immortal Mountain. Is there anyone called Ling Xiao among you? The great master suddenly asked. Yes, but he's not here now. He's probably dead. Someone answered. Humph, he got off easy. The great master snorted and waved his hand. Kill. The half-step Yin-Yang realm cultivators will belong to me and second brother. The rest will belong to you. Kill. The bandits shouted excitedly. They didn't plan to defend the city. Instead, they planned to fight and kill all the poor examinees. After all, they had the upper hand. If they still hid in the city, the enemies would probably escape. Soon, the bandits formed a tight encirclement and surrounded the 80 examinees. The cold wind blew, and the smell of blood filled the air. It made people feel very uncomfortable. The 80 examinees looked terrible. At this moment, they only had one way to go, and that was to kill their way out. Because their retreat had been blocked, and there was an ambush in the snow, they could only fight if they didn't want to die. Brothers, what are you afraid of? We are all geniuses with extraordinary talent. Among us, there are even martial artists who have entered the cycle of reincarnation. Are we just going to wait helplessly for death? Suddenly, a young man stood out from the crowd. He appeared to be only 16 or 17 years old, but his gaze was cold and steady. He should be a martial artist who has entered the samsara realm. Ling Xiao secretly guessed. Martial artists who had entered the samsara realm could not be seen on the surface, unless you had lived with them and knew that they grew very fast. Otherwise, on the surface, there would be no difference between them. That's right. Although we have fewer people, our overall strength is stronger than those bandits. We're not afraid that we won't be able to kill our way out. Another person stepped forward. That was true. There were 84 examinees left, and 60 of them were at half-step Yin-Yang realm level 6. 5 of them were at the 8th level. There was also one who had reached the 10th level of strength and was on par with the bandit leader. Such combat strength was absolutely not to be underestimated. After these people's shouts, the originally panicked crowd suddenly calmed down. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. These youths were not bad. If it were an ordinary person who suddenly encountered such a big change, they would be so flustered that they would not be able to find their bearings. Just as a life-and-death battle was about to begin, a terrifying aura suddenly swept over. A Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Ling Xiao looked into the distance. A figure wearing a white goose feather cloak descended on the city walls of Blood Cave Stronghold. This person was a man who looked more feminine than a woman. He was not old, probably in his early 20s. He was holding a goose feather fan in his hand and was fanning himself on this cold day. Blood Cave Stronghold has done many evil things. You are unlucky to have met me today. The man's eyes were like lightning as he looked at the thousands of bandits with a smile. There was no fear on his face, only indifference and disdain. The leader of Blood Cave Stronghold cupped his hands and said, "Who are you? Do you want to interfere with our Blood Cave Stronghold's matters?" Although he sensed that the other party was not ordinary, he was not afraid because the Blood Cave Stronghold had a backer. "I am Mo Feiyu of 8 Immortal Mountain. If you die, remember my name. Don't be a confused ghost." After saying that, he suddenly waved the goose feather fan in his hand. Between heaven and earth, the terrifying cold wind actually formed a huge white lion behind him. The lion was covered in ice and snow. The cold air between heaven and earth was dense. Roar! The white lion let out a terrifying roar and charged at the bandits. The Blood Cave Stronghold bandits, who were known for their cruelty, did not even have a chance to fight back. They were either frozen into ice sculptures or killed by the huge lion. Run! The leader of Blood Cave Stronghold saw that the situation was not good, so he turned and ran. He left no trace in the snow and instantly escaped hundreds of meters away. However, it was useless. The terrifying cold air had already enveloped the entire area. Almost everywhere was covered in terrifying icicles. Originally, the Blood Cave village was surrounded by pure white snow. At this moment, the snow danced in the air. In the snow, there was a lion covered in snow roaring and fighting. It made people feel as if they had stepped into an extremely cold place. Do you think you can escape? If I, Mo Feiyu, want to kill, no one can escape. With a cold smile, a huge icicle formed behind the leader of the bandits. Then, with lightning speed, it pierced out and nailed the bandit leader to a pine tree. The leader of the bandits was a half-step Yin-Yang realm level 10 expert. Yet he could not withstand a casual attack from Mo Feiyu. In just a few minutes, the snow finally stopped and the lion disappeared. Only corpses were left. More than 1,000 Blood Cave Stronghold bandits, including the leader and second leader, died in his hands. This was what it meant to kill people as easily as flipping one's hand. This person's cultivation is probably even more terrifying than Xin Chong and Lin Yang. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Shan Chong was at the early stage of Yin-Yang realm level 1 hell, and Lin Yang was slightly stronger. However, Mo Feiyu was probably even more terrifying than the two of them combined. However, why did he come here today? Did he not know that the 8 Immortal Mountain was going to test their disciples here? He actually killed all the bandits. What was the point of the test? Haha, Big Brother Feiyu is indeed powerful. We really admire you. Not bad, not bad. With Big Brother Feiyu here, these bandits are nothing. As they laughed, 2 figures appeared beside Mo Feiyu. Chapter 2183. Shan Shi, Zhou, your first assessment is to get the demon seeds, right? Now that I've killed them for you, you can go and get the demon seeds yourselves. Take as many as you want. Mo Feiyu obviously knew Xin Shi and Zhou, and he also knew the content of this assessment. He did this on purpose. Thank you, Brother Feiyu. Xin Shi and Zhou looked at each other and rushed down excitedly. They began to extract the demon seeds from the dead Bloody Cave Stronghold bandits. People from the 3 big families can go and get them. The others can forget about it. Mo Feiyu said to the others after Xin Shi and Zhou Yun had each extracted about 100 demon seeds. Hearing this, the warriors from the 3 big families began to extract the demon seeds. The remaining warriors were furious, but they did not dare to show it. Mo Feiyu was too strong. More than 1,000 bandits could not withstand his attack. If they dared to disobey, they would all die here. You so-called geniuses from a remote town really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Are you qualified to participate in such a test? Get out of here, or don't blame me for being rude. Then Mo Feiyu looked at the young warriors who came from various towns to participate in the assessment and scolded them condescendingly. Hee, Brother Feiyu is right. However, if you still want to participate in the assessment, I can give you a chance. That is, you can all join the 3 big families and pledge your loyalty to us. If you are willing to join the Zhou family, I will give you some demon seeds to help you complete the first assessment. In this first assessment, only 20 people can pass the assessment. There are only 10 people from the 3 big families who participated in the assessment. There's still 10 spots left. The sooner you declare your loyalty, the sooner you can get the demon seeds. Zhou Yun's words were full of temptation. For these warriors from remote towns, their ultimate goal in coming to the 8 Immortal City was to join the 8 Immortals Mountain. If they could not even pass the first assessment, then they would have no chance at all. I'm willing. Me too. Soon, dozens of people expressed their willingness to join the Zhou family. Shen Shi was not as good as Zhou Yun in this aspect. He insisted on keeping the demon seeds in his hands and refused to give them away. The Lin family also had a leading young warrior called Lin Yang. This person's cultivation was stronger than Zhou Yuan and Xin Shi, but he was very low-key. He seemed to have no interest in threatening others with demon seeds. Ha ha ha. Looks like you have a lot of people. However, I only need 10 people. Why don't you all fight it out? I, Zhou Chao, will protect the remaining 10. I don't dare to say that in the 8 Immortals Mountain, but in the 8 Immortals County, I can let you live a good life. Zhou Yan, this fellow, really treated these martial artists from a remote town as his toys. How could he be so happy? Who? Ling Xiao did not want to get involved in this kind of thing, but he also did not want to be eliminated like this. He originally planned to wait until Mo Feiyu left and then snatch some magic seeds from Zhou Yan or Xin Shi to pass. Who knew that Mo Feiyu would discover him? In that instant, the snow where he was standing suddenly exploded, forcing him to reveal himself. There was even a faint trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Xin Shi and Zhou Chao both discovered Ling Xiao at the first moment and shouted in unison, Ling Xiao, so it turns out that you've been hiding nearby all this time. However, the two's attitudes were clearly not the same. Xin Shi wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Zhou Yan, on the other hand, smiled and continued, You want to pass, right? You can also choose to fight with them. As long as you win, I'll give you magic seeds. He had a mocking smile on his face, treating Ling Xiao as a puppet that he could manipulate at will. No need. If I'm not wrong, this is not all the bandits in the Bloody Cave stronghold. I'll get the magic seeds that I need. There's no need to trouble young Master Zhou. Ling Xiao could not become someone's puppet. Even if he was not strong enough, it was impossible. Moreover, he was not afraid of Zhou Yan now. Goodbye. Because Mo Feiyu was here, Ling Xiao did not want to fight with Zhou Yan or Xin Shi, so he wanted to leave. Stop! Who allowed you to leave? Xin Shi sneered and suddenly leaped up. He instantly approached Ling Xiao and said, Do you think you can still leave alive under such circumstances? Brother Feiyu, this kid is the one who humiliated me a few days ago. I have an irreconcilable grudge with him. Can't you kill him? What? Xin Shi, you still want to kill me? Ling Xiao stopped and looked at Xin Shi. Killing intent emerged in his heart. He originally thought that he had taught Xin Shi a lesson that day and did not want to bully this idiot again. Who would have thought that Xin Shi would want to kill him? Kill you? Xin Shi sneered and said, That's right. I want to kill you. A few days ago, you made a fool of me. However, You probably did not expect that I would have good fortune after surviving a disaster. Not only have I recovered from my injuries, but my cultivation has also improved. Now, I'm at half-step yin-yang realm level 6. What about you? Trash will always be trash. You didn't even break through in 7 days. Inferior goods. I'm talking about people like you. Ling Xiao, forget it. Apologize to young Master Shin and let bygones be bygones. Martial artists from small towns like us can't be compared to the disciples of the 3 big families. Among the examinees, there was a martial artist from a remote town. He had seen Ling Xiao teach Shin Shi a lesson on the road that day. To be honest, he admired Ling Xiao a lot. However, Mo Feiyu was present now. He was afraid that Ling Xiao, whom he admired, would be at a disadvantage, so he stood out and said something. Then he respectfully cupped his hands toward Shin Shi and said, "Young Master Shin, you are a great person who does not remember the wrongs of a lowly person. The Prime Minister is magnanimous. Now, everyone wants to enter the 8 Immortals Mountain. Maybe we'll become fellow disciples in the future. Can we bury the hatchet? My sister is also a disciple of the 8 Immortals of 8 Immortals Mountain. Even if you don't give me face, can you give her some? Get lost." Shen Shi roared and suddenly kicked the young man's neck. Because his cultivation was higher than the young man's, and it was a sudden attack, the young man could not block it in time and was kicked in his vitals. He screamed a few times and was on the verge of death. Looking at the young man who was about to die, Shin Shi said coldly, "Little worm from a small town, you really don't know what you're worth. How dare you plead for him? I think you're going to die soon." "Humph, your sister is probably just a trash among the 8 Immortals. Do you really think I'm afraid of her? Give her face? Who does she think she is?" Ling Xiao was really surprised. Shin Shi was so vicious. That person only said a few words. Although he was a little arrogant, he did not deserve to die. Chapter 2184. Ling Xiao hurriedly rushed over and wanted to heal the boy who was injured by Shin Shi. However, he found that Shin Shi's kick was too ruthless. The boy's neck bones were all broken, and his meridians were all broken. If he was not a martial artist, he would have died long ago. With Ling Xiao's current medical skills, it was impossible to cure him. "Brother, I will avenge you." No matter what, this person was a warm-hearted person, even though he did not even know his name. However, he must kill Shin Shi. "Help! Help me take care of my sister." The boy handed his storage ring to Ling Xiao and then stopped breathing. Ling Xiao sighed, stood up and looked at Shin Shi. "You are really sick in the head. Even if you want to kill me, what enmity do you have with him?" "Humph. Those who dare to help you are my enemy. They must die." Shin Shi coldly snorted. "Interesting. Those who have helped me are my friends, Ling Xiao. If you kill my friends, you will also die." Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a cold light. "Ha ha ha, kill me? What do you have to kill me? 10th Grotto Heaven Realm Cultivation? Don't think that just because you defeated me a few days ago, you can really suppress me. Stupid ant, you don't understand what the 3 big clans mean in the 8 Immortal City." Shin Shi looked up to the sky and laughed. "Today, I will let you lie here like a dead dog. No one will even come to collect your corpse. Ling Xiao, how about it? Kowtow to me a few times. I can help you stop Shin Shi and save your life." Zhou Yan looked at Ling Xiao mockingly. He just did not like Ling Xiao's arrogance. He just wanted to make Ling Xiao bow to him and become his dog. "Zhou Yan, mind your own business." Shen Shi turned his head and glared at Zhou Yan. He was very unhappy. In terms of cultivation, he might not be stronger than Zhou Chao. In terms of helpers, Mo Feiyu was someone who had accepted the money of the 3 great clans, so it was impossible for him to be biased. If Zhou Chang really wanted to protect Ling Xiao, then he really would not be able to kill Ling Xiao. Mo Feiyu just stood there and watched, as if he was watching a good show. He was actually enjoying it. As for the others, some of them were worried for Ling Xiao, while some of them were secretly scolding Ling Xiao for his stupidity. Why did he have to offend Shin Shi? As the saying goes, it's better to live than to die. If it were me, I would definitely agree to Zhou Yan's request. Someone said, "As a man, why should I be afraid of death? I can't wag my tail and beg for pity just to live." Some people said the same thing. This time around, there were all sorts of candidates. There were all kinds of people. "You two dogs, do you think that I, Ling Xiao, am a piece of fat meat?" Ling Xiao suddenly sneered and spat out a sentence that made the already cold environment even colder. At that moment, many people felt as if the temperature had dropped by a lot. Ling Xiao was crazy. Everyone thought so. Not only did he offend Xinshi, but he also offended Zhou Yan. He had already offended 2 of the 3 great clans in the 8 Immortal City. Where did he get the confidence to speak like this? Mo Feiyu also looked at Ling Xiao with interest. He seemed to find it very interesting. It had been a long time since someone dared to provoke the 3 great clans like this. He remembered that about 5 years ago, there was such a person who seemed to be only 11 or 12 years old. If that little girl was not saved by Lin Ruoxian, she would have been thrown to the dogs. He did not believe that Lin Ruoxian would save this person. Even if Lin Ruoxian did, he would stop him. After all, he had received money from the 3 great clans. He could not let the 3 great clans vent their anger. You can't show your face. Even if you die today, this young master will not say another word. Zhou Yan was so angry that his face turned ashen. He looked at Ling Xiao and wished that he could tear Ling Xiao into pieces. Xinshi was even more furious. "You said that I am a dog? You dare to call me a dog? I think you really want to die, so much that you have gone crazy." A terrifying aura was brewing in Xinshi's body. The crazy storm martial spirit behind him was completely released. His aura was indeed much stronger than 7 days ago. The dog is noisy again. It is really annoying. Ling Xiao used his pinky to pick his ear and then blew it and said indifferently. His indifferent tone made Xinshi even more furious. "Go die for me." Xinshi originally wanted to kill Ling Xiao. However, Zhou Yan interfered. At this moment, he released the attack that he had prepared long ago. Both of his hands blasted out. The terrifying Storm Eagle let out a sharp whistle and attacked Ling Xiao. This Storm Eagle was even more ferocious than 7 days ago. It was more powerful and faster. This attack caused the thick layer of ice under his feet to crack. The snow was also swept up by the wind and flew more than 10 meters high. A terrifying killing intent was released from the Storm Eagle. He showed no mercy. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao. There was no other goal. Ling Xiao sneered. He did not even use the immortal seal. He took out his iron sword, and a terrifying starlight descended from the sky. It was not the falling star sword art, but the falling star sword art. Ling Xiao's cultivation had reached the initial half-step yin-yang realm. He could easily crush Xinshi. Even if his martial skills were inferior, he could still win. A terrifying sword chi blossomed from the iron sword, releasing a murderous aura that made everyone feel a chill. When the sword aura came into contact with Xinshi's Storm Eagle, it immediately gained the upper hand. It was like the tip of a needle against a balloon. The pitiful Storm Eagle was instantly torn to pieces by the sword aura. Then, the sword pierced through Xinshi's throat. Xinshi was pierced through by the iron sword like a stick of candied fruit. He was on his last breath. Ling Xiao deliberately left this for him. He defeated Xinshi with one strike. Seeing this, the examinees looked as if they had seen a ghost. Moreover, the cultivation that Ling Xiao showed was not at the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. He was at the 3rd stage of the half-step yin-yang realm. However, his combat strength was even more terrifying than Xinshi's. Zhou Yan was waiting for Ling Xiao's tragic death so that he could mock him. However, when he saw Ling Xiao pierce Xinshi's throat, he was so scared that he did not dare to say anything. He was at the same cultivation level as Xinshi. Since Ling Xiao could kill Xinshi, it would not be a problem for him to kill him. Oh no, I was too careless. I didn't expect this kid to be so much stronger than Xinshi. Mo Feiyu was also stunned. He originally thought that even if Ling Xiao had some hidden strength, he would at most be on par with Shenshi. But he never expected that the final result would be that Shenshi was killed with only a single breath left. You! Shenshi looked at Ling Xiao in horror and felt the sharp pain in his throat. He could not even make a sound. He could not believe it. His cultivation level had increased. How could he be defeated more decisively than the last time? This was impossible. This was definitely not happening. This must be a dream. Yes, a dream. Chapter 2185. Ling Xiao looked at Shenshi coldly and said, Shenshi, you think I'm no longer your opponent after you broke through. But let me tell you, anyone that I, Ling Xiao, have defeated is no longer qualified to be my opponent. You want to kill me? But now you're the one who's dead. You asked for it. You can't blame anyone else. Stop! Mo Feiyu roared, and then rushed over. Ling Xiao smiled coldly, pulled out his sword, and threw Shinshi's body to him. Anyway, there was no chance of saving Shenshi. Big brother Feiyu, kill him. Kill this kid. Zhou Yan suddenly shouted like a madman. He thought of how he humiliated Ling Xiao before, and knew that Ling Xiao would not let him go, and he was no match for Ling Xiao. So he could only borrow Mo Feiyu's power to kill Ling Xiao. Whoosh! A sword light broke through the snow and stabbed towards Zhou Yan. Fortunately, he was far away. Zhou Yan screamed and rolled a few times on the ground like a donkey. Finally, he hid behind Mo Feiyu and avoided the tragedy of being killed. But his arm had been chopped off. I didn't kill you, but you let others kill me. Zhou Yan, you're courting death. Although Zhou Yan had insulted Ling Xiao several times, Ling Xiao did not want to lower himself to this idiot's level. But who knew that this guy would let Mo Feiyu kill him? At this point, how could Ling Xiao let him go? Enough! Mo Feiyu stood up and looked coldly at Ling Xiao. He did not move, but only shouted. The terrifying snow blasted towards Ling Xiao, and Ling Xiao was forced back dozens of steps before he could stop. His blood boiled, and it made Ling Xiao very uncomfortable. So strong! Ling Xiao looked at Mo Feiyu and could not help but be shocked. This Mo Feiyu was really much scarier than Shin Chong. If it was Shan Chong, he could still use the diabolical dragon seal to deal with him. However, the terrifying aura released by Mo Feiyu was something he could not resist at all. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao secretly released his Gemini martial spirits, allowing them to escape first. He did not rule out the possibility that Mo Feiyu wanted to kill him to avenge Shenshi. With his current cultivation, he was no match for Mo Feiyu. Therefore, he had to be extremely careful. Now he had killed Shenshi. As for Zhou Yan, he had cut off one of his arms. He probably had no future. What he did in the 8 Immortals County was really spectacular. However, it did not weaken the awe-inspiring aura he had before he entered the cycle of reincarnation. Reverse yin and yang. Death is life. Life is death. Just as Ling Xiao was thinking about this, he suddenly heard Mo Feiyu's voice. He looked up and saw that Mo Feiyu had already reattached Zhou Yan's arm. It was unharmed. Although Shenshi could not be saved, Mo Feiyu would definitely not let Zhou Yan's arm be broken. Otherwise, he would not be able to answer to the 3 big families. You're Ling Xiao, right? After healing Zhou Yan's arm, Mo Feiyu looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. There was no hatred. He was just doing something for someone else. He merely treated Ling Xiao as a target for him to claim credit for himself. That's right. Hee, you're quite capable. If you keep a low profile, you might have a good future. It's a pity that you shouldn't have killed Shenshi. Since you killed Shenshi, I won't be able to answer to the Shen family. Since you took money from others, I have to kill you. Mo Feiyu said with a chuckle. You violated the rules of the 8 Immortals Mountains assessment, helped the 3 big families, and now you want to kill me. Are you really not afraid of being punished by the 8 Immortals Mountain? Ling Xiao asked curiously. That's a good question. I'm not afraid. Mo Feiyu said disdainfully, Because I'm a genius of the 8 Immortals Mountain. Everything I do can be forgiven. What a genius! Ling Xiao now understood. The various sects of the mystic world were actually more or less the same. Genius cultivators were always protected, valued, and even forgiven by their respective forces. No matter what mistakes they made, they could be forgiven. And a person with poor aptitude could be killed even if he made a small mistake. This was the reality. Mo Feiyu had never taken Ling Xiao seriously from the beginning. He still didn't. Even if Ling Xiao killed Xin Shi and injured Zhou Yan, it was still not worth mentioning in his eyes. "Are you done with your questions?" Mo Feiyu asked proudly. Yes. After Ling Xiao finished speaking, he turned around and ran in the opposite direction of the Gemini martial spirits. Mo Feiyu looked at him coldly and then gently waved the goose feather fan in his hand. Ling Xiao's body was pierced by a huge icicle and then fell to the ground, but there was no blood. Mo Feiyu was stunned for a moment. I didn't expect this kid to know some crooked tricks. He escaped. He really didn't expect this, because he had never taken Ling Xiao seriously and thought that it would be easy to kill Ling Xiao. But Ling Xiao escaped. This made him both surprised and displeased. After a long time, he sneered. Fine. I guess you won't dare to return to the 8 Immortals Mountain. Even if you come back, you will die without a doubt. After saying that, he coldly glanced at the remaining warriors from the small town and said, I'm very unhappy today, so you can all run away. The last 10 people who can survive, I can reward them with demon seeds and let them pass. Run. As soon as Mo Feiyu finished speaking, the martial artists rushed out and ran in different directions. Of course, many of them went directly to the transmission array. In their opinion, as long as they stepped into the transmission array, it didn't matter if they were eliminated as long as they could survive. This Mo Feiyu was simply a madman. There was no reasoning with such a person. Zhou Yan also went to the transmission array. The other people from the 3 big families also left. They didn't dare to stay. Mo Feiyu couldn't kill Ling Xiao, so they were worried that Ling Xiao was still here. If Mo Feiyu left and Ling Xiao came back to kill them, they didn't have the confidence to kill Ling Xiao. Where is Xin Shi's demonic seed? Before Zhou Yan left, he wanted to take out the demonic seed that Xin Shi put in his storage ring. Who knew that Xin Shi's storage ring was gone? Ling Xiao. That damn Ling Xiao. Zhou Yan looked around. It was as if every movement was Ling Xiao's shadow. He was so scared that he quickly ran out. Ling Xiao didn't leave. He ran to a place where Mo Feiyu couldn't find him and sat down cross-legged. The pressure when Mo Feiyu attacked made him feel the threshold of the intermediate half-step yin-yang realm. He decided to go back after breaking through. After all, only half an hour had passed, so he wasn't in a hurry. Now that he killed Xin Shi, Xin Chong definitely wouldn't let him go. Mo Feiyu probably wouldn't let him go either. The Shen family and Zhou family of the 3 big families would find trouble with him. Therefore, he had to become stronger and join the 8 Immortals Mountain. Chapter 2186. Mo Feiyu, do you think I'm just a fish on your chopping board that you can make into a dish at any time? Just you wait. I'll not only defeat Xin Shi and Zhou Yuan, but also Xin Chong and you. I'll trample on your arrogance. Genius, you're not worthy at all. Ling Xiao had seen too many geniuses. Even his former enemies, Tianhai Tyranny and Feng Fei, were more talented than Mo Feiyu. Mo Feiyu was nothing. Why would he, Ling Xiao, be afraid? He sat there cross-legged as the grotto heaven energy in his body continuously attacked the next cultivation level barrier. Feeling the pressure from Mo Feiyu, Ling Xiao's fighting spirit grew stronger. After repeatedly attacking for a full 10 minutes, he finally broke through. First revolution. Half-step yin-yang realm mid-level strength. In terms of cultivation level, it was equivalent to a 6th level cultivation. However, he was much stronger than an ordinary level 6 martial artist. Of course, even with his current cultivation level, he had no chance of winning against Mo Feiyu. But Ling Xiao could see that Mo Feiyu and the others had already left. He was the only one left in this vast snowfield. Oh, right, there were also the corpses of the examinees that Mo Feiyu had chased down and cruelly killed, as well as the corpses of the bandits. He slowly stood up and looked at the 2 storage rings in his hands. One of them belonged to the youth whose name he didn't even know. There should be clues about his sister inside. He opened the storage ring and checked it. Besides some spirit stones, there was also a portrait. The person in the portrait was delicate and pretty. One could tell at a glance that she was a beauty, but she was too young. He guessed that she was only 11 or 12 years old. The girl's name was next to the portrait, Feng Ru. Don't worry, I'll help you take care of your sister while we're at 8 Immortal Mountain. But there's no way in the future. After all, I can't stay here forever. Ling Xiao put away the storage ring. Then he checked Xin Shi's storage ring. Besides a large amount of spirit stones, there were 500 demon seeds. Ling Xiao felt that it was too wasteful to give all of this to 8 Immortal Mountain. He planned to go out and check out the situation later. As long as he handed in enough demonic seeds to pass the test, he could use the rest to improve his cultivation. Seeing that it was about time, he walked in the direction of the teleportation portal. At this moment, at the eastern pass of the 8 Immortals County, there were already many people resting there. Almost everyone's face was filled with the fear of surviving a disaster. Mo Feiyu, that madman, was even more ruthless than the bandits of the Bloody Cave stronghold. Of the 90 candidates who went in, only 30 came out alive. Most of them were killed by him. Lin Mao frowned. Looking at the situation of these people, he could not help but ask Xin Chong, could it be as Ling Xiao said that these people were ambushed by the bandits of the Bloody Cave stronghold? This Lin Mao was the young man who was in charge of this assessment together with Xin Chong. Xin Chong shook his head and said, maybe, but that is also part of the assessment. He didn't seem to care about the life and death of these people. In any case, the young martial artists of the 3 great clans had already come out, and they seemed very excited and confident. As for those martial artists in remote towns, he was completely indifferent to them. He was most concerned about his younger brother, Xin Shi. It was almost time for the blood-red teleportation array, but Xin Shi still hadn't come out. Brother Xin, you don't have to wait for Xin Shi. He's already dead. Zhou Yan suddenly stood up and said, what nonsense are you talking about? Xin Chong asked angrily, I'm not talking nonsense. Xin Shi was despicably plotted against by Ling Xiao and died in the Bloody Cave stronghold. Even the demon seed he obtained was snatched away by Ling Xiao. Zhou Yan said loudly, what? Xin Chong was furious. Where is he? I don't know about that. Maybe he died in there. Zhou Yan couldn't wait for Ling Xiao to die in there. That way he wouldn't have to worry. In fact, he was also puzzled. Mo Feiyu had clearly killed Ling Xiao, but he insisted that Ling Xiao was not dead. It seemed that Brother Feiyu had made a mistake. That's right. How could a martial artist from a remote town be so strong? Even if he could kill Xin Shi, it was impossible for him to survive Mo Feiyu's attack. Damn be asterisk starred. He better die in there. Otherwise, I'll skin him alive and pull out his tendons. Shen Chong roared angrily. In fact, the examinees all knew what the truth was, but some of them didn't dare to say it, and some didn't want to say it. Anyway, it was none of their business. The martial artists from the 3 major clans looked coldly at the gradually disappearing transmission array. They couldn't help but sneer secretly. That Ling Xiao's strength is not bad, but it's a pity that he doesn't know how to behave. It's fine if he offended Xin Shi, but he even offended Zhou Yan and Mo Feiyu. Isn't he courting death? When they came out, Mo Feiyu hadn't come out yet. Therefore, they believed that Ling Xiao must have been killed by Mo Feiyu since he hadn't returned yet. With Mo Feiyu's personality, he would never allow anyone who offended him to live. This genius from a remote town was going to die here. That kid is really lucky. He actually died in there. Shen Chong gritted his teeth and stared at the transmission array that was only left with a faint red color. He was really unhappy. Ling Xiao killed his brother. He should have killed him with his own hands. It was too easy for him to die in the hands of bandits. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out of the faint red transmission array. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the transmission array. The appearance of this figure caused everyone to be quite shocked, especially the people from the 3 major clans. They couldn't believe that Ling Xiao could actually come out alive from Mo Feiyu's pursuit. What was even more unbelievable was that since he was alive, he should have escaped. How dare he come out? One had to know that Mo Feiyu wasn't the only one who wanted Ling Xiao dead. Shen Chong also wanted him dead. If Ling Xiao came out, it meant that he was dead. Was this guy stupid? Zhou Yan couldn't help but shiver. Ling Xiao's cold gaze made him feel uncomfortable. However, when he saw Shen Chong, he was relieved. With Shen Chong here, he believed that Ling Xiao wouldn't dare to do anything. After all, this was the Eastern Pass, the territory of the 8 Immortals Mountain. If Ling Xiao dared to casually kill people here, he would definitely not be tolerated. What a lucky guy. You actually hid until now. However, do you think you can join the 8 Immortals Mountain just because you came out? What you'll face next is Shen Chong's anger. Zhou Yan snorted coldly and gradually calmed down. When Ling Xiao stepped out of the red transmission array, he felt a terrifying killing intent coming towards him. Of course, he knew who this killing intent came from. He turned his head coldly to look at Shen Chong and then smiled indifferently. There was a dog who wanted to die and wanted to bite me, so I killed him. Chapter 2187. The dog is dead. Do you want to take revenge by beating a dog? Ling Xiao looked at Shen Chong with contempt. You're courting death. Shen Chong obviously knew who Ling Xiao was talking about. This guy killed his brother and even dared to call his brother a dog. This was intolerable. Junior brother Shen, bear with it. Don't do anything here. Just as Shen Chong was about to lose control of himself, he was stopped by Lin Mao. Shen Chong immediately calmed down. If there was no one around, he could kill Ling Xiao, but this was the territory of the 8 Immortal Mountain. As the examiner of the first round, if he killed Ling Xiao without permission, he might be able to take revenge, but he would also be finished. After all, he was not a genius like Mo Feiyu. Not everything he did could be forgiven. Kid, just you wait. My brother's revenge won't be forgotten so easily. Shen Chong stared coldly at Ling Xiao and said, If you want to die, then do as you wish. But I have to warn you, even if a dog's teeth are sharp, don't bite it. Otherwise, if you bite a tiger, you will die. Ling Xiao no longer put Shen Chong in his eyes. Although Shen Chong was still a strong opponent, he was much weaker than Mo Feiyu. If he was afraid of Shen Chong, how could he face Mo Feiyu? Now I will announce the results. First, Ling Xiao, you have passed the assessment time, so you are eliminated in the first round. Shen Chong looked at Ling Xiao mockingly. He was the examiner. Ling Xiao dared to offend him. He should just eliminate this guy directly. As long as Ling Xiao could not join the 8 Immortal Mountain, he could kill this guy openly and the 8 Immortal Mountain would not stop him. Is there something wrong with your eyes or your brain? The teleportation array has not completely disappeared yet, which means that the time has not passed yet. You dare to say that I have passed the assessment time? Do you think that the 8 Immortal Mountain is owned by your family? Ling Xiao looked at Shen Chong as if he was looking at an idiot. This Shen Chong, in order to kill him, must have lost his mind. The rules set by the 8 Immortals Mountain were not something a mere examiner like him could change. Moreover, this was a selection for the 8 Immortals Mountain. Shen Chong must have been so angry that he became muddle-headed. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Shen Chong's expression turned ugly. However, he had to admit that Ling Xiao was right. He wasn't the only examiner. Lin Mao was there too. This Lin Mao was usually not on good terms with him. This time, The examiner had purposely arranged for the two of them to be together so that they could restrain each other. Sure enough, Lin Mao's indifferent voice rang out. Junior brother Shin, I know you're eager for revenge, but he really didn't exceed the time limit. The corner of Shen Chong's mouth twitched a few times, but he eventually shut his mouth and didn't say anything. Seeing that Shen Chong was no longer speaking, Lin Mao took charge of the following matters. Hand over all the demon seeds you've obtained. Those who rank in the top 20 can enter the second round. The rest can go home. Lin Mao said coldly and then walked to the registration table. Zhou Yan was the first to walk up and handed over 300 magic seeds with a smile. Lin Yang also walked up and handed over 100 magic seeds. These two people had the most magic seeds. The next 8 people were all young warriors from the 3 big clans. The next 10 people were all warriors who had volunteered to be Zhou Yan's lackeys. There was no need to mention them. Among these people, the one who had handed over the most magic seeds was Zhou Yan, followed by Lin Yang. The others basically only had a dozen or so, at most a few dozen. What about the others? Didn't you get a single magic seed? Lin Mao frowned. At present, there were only 20 people who had obtained magic seeds. 10 of them were young warriors from the 3 big clans. The remaining 10 people were obviously following Zhou Yan's lead. They had been bought over by Zhou Yan. There were more than 20 people left. Among them, there were even 3 reincarnation realm warriors. However, none of them had obtained a single magic seed. The 3 of you, are you willing to work with me? Ling Xiao knew that if he wanted to do well in the 8 Immortals Mountain, one person was not enough. He needed helpers, and these 3 reincarnation realm warriors were the best helpers. As long as they did not die, they would become reincarnation realm warriors in the future. They would definitely become the pillars of the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. Why should I work with you? I would rather go to the Heavenly Wind Group than to suffer such humiliation. One of them stood up and turned to leave. He had encountered injustice in the assessment of the 8 Immortals Mountain. But fortunately, there was still the Heavenly Wind Group. Ling Xiao did not stop him. After all, everyone had their own ambitions. I will also go to the Heavenly Wind Group. Another person looked at Ling Xiao and sighed. You have already offended that person. Listen to my advice. Don't waste your time in the 8 Immortals Mountain. You should go to the Heavenly Wind Group. It won't do you any harm. Thank you for the reminder. But I don't have the habit of giving up easily. If he were to give up after encountering such a small difficulty, it would be too unlike Ling Xiao's style. In the end, only one person chose to work with Ling Xiao. This person was called Chun He. He was tall and sturdy. Although he was young, his body was very strong. Moreover, his cultivation had reached half-step Yin-Yang realm, level 10 strength. He was the one who wanted to fight to the death with the bandits in the Blood Cave stronghold. Ling Xiao still had a pretty good impression of this Chen He. How many demon seeds do you want? Ling Xiao asked. Not too many, as long as I can get into the top 20. Chen He replied, Okay, then I will give you 20 demon seeds. This is the result of your current 18th place. You can squeeze out the other 2 people. Ling Xiao casually gave Chen He 20 demon seeds. Thank you. I, Chen He, will return this favor to you. Chen He handed over the demon seeds. In the end, Ling Xiao also handed over 20 demon seeds. He was not a fool. There was no need for him to hand over all of his demon seeds. In fact, it did not mean much to rank high in the first round. As long as he passed, it would be fine. Ling Xiao, Shenshi has at least 500 demon seeds, but you only handed over 20. What are you trying to do? Zhou Yan suddenly questioned. It's none of your business. What does Shinshi's demon seeds have to do with me? Ling Xiao asked disdainfully. You still don't admit it. Did you kill Shinshi? Zhou Yan roared. I was the one who killed him. Then did you take his storage ring? Zhou Yan asked again. Are you an idiot? How could I take his storage ring with Mo Feiyu beside him? Ling Xiao naturally would not admit it. Anyway, no one could find out if he threw the storage ring into the mountain river world. Mo Feiyu? Hearing this name, Shin Chong and Lin Mao both frowned. In the 8th Immortal Mountain, anything related to Mo Feiyu would become very troublesome. Therefore, the two deliberately pretended not to hear this name. They did not want to look for trouble. Ling Xiao, it is a very serious crime to keep demon seeds without permission. Do you dare to let us search?